Chapter 8:16. Yu knew that it must have been the effect of the small Sumeru pendant that allowed Zhao Dai to avoid them. After searching once, they moved on to the second floor and then to the first floor. Finally, they let out a long sigh and left the Phoenix Goddess brothel. They stood outside the Phoenix Goddess brothel. The lanterns were as bright as day and there was an endless stream of pedestrians. The sound of bamboo fluttered in the air, as if it was a heavenly palace. Bai Feng looked even more beautiful under the light. She stared at Fu Yu with her starry eyes and scoffed. "Where's the white tiger armor?" Zhou Ningyi smiled bitterly and sighed. "We'll give it to you after we kill Zhao Dai." Bai Feng sneered. "Oh, so it's after we kill Zhao Dai. If you can't kill him, are you going to go back on your word?" "How is that possible?" Zhou Ningyi said. Bai Feng said, "It seems like I won't be able to get it back." "Well," Zhou Ningyi smiled bitterly. He was certain that Zhao Dai was hiding in the Phoenix Goddess brothel. It was impossible for Zhao Dai to appear and kill the He brothers as soon as they searched the brothel. All coincidences had their own causes and effect. The Phoenix Goddess brothel and Zhao Dai must be related. "All right, if you won't give it to me, I'll let the sect leader ask for it himself." Bai Feng scoffed. "The white tiger armor alone is enough to show the white tiger sect's courage and trustworthiness. Goodbye." She did not say anything else and turned to leave. "Wait," Fu Yu said. Bai Feng turned to look at him. "What else do you have to say?" "I'll give it to you," Fu Yu said. "I'll take off the white tiger armor and give it to you now." "Brother Fu!" Zhou Ningyi called out. Fu Yu shook his head. "I've lost the bet. I'll never go back on my word. Brother Fu, please reconsider." Zhou Ningyi frowned. The white tiger armor was very important. It was not only a treasure armor but also a deterrent to the White Tiger sect, especially against the Holy Church of Light. The light blade was powerful, but it was not a problem with the white tiger armor. Without it, he would not be confident against the disciples of the Holy Church of Light. Fortunately, the light blade was powerful but difficult to cultivate. Among the disciples of the Holy Church of Light, there were not many who could cultivate it to a high level. Fu Yu said, "Brother Zhou, you don't have to say anything. I've made up my mind." After he finished speaking, he turned around and entered the Phoenix Goddess brothel. Bai Feng chuckled and said, "Old Fu is the most straightforward, unlike you, old Zhou. You're a sly old fox who goes back on his word." Zhou Ningyi shook his head and smiled bitterly. A brief moment later, Fu Yu came out from a room and handed a set of black clothes and a mask to Bai Feng. "Take good care of it. I will win it back." "Sure, I'll be waiting." Bai Feng chuckled. "Farewell." Fu Yu cupped his fists with a gloomy expression and strode away. Zhou Ningyi glanced at the white tiger armor in Bai Feng's hands, shook his head helplessly, and left as well. Zhang Juanrui smiled. "Miss Bai, I'm impressed." Bai Feng harumphed. "Zhang, are you jealous? We have the Ardent Sun armor, so there's nothing to be jealous of." Zhang Juanrui shook his head and laughed. "However, you've offended the White Tiger sect this time." "So what if I've offended you?" Bai Feng scoffed disdainfully. "Get lost." Zhang Juanrui smiled and left. Yu approached her and asked excitedly, "Master, is this the White Tiger armor?" "That's it." Bai Feng stared at their backs and scoffed. "No matter how cunning they are, they still have to drink the water I used to wash my feet. Let's go." The two of them returned to her room on the third floor. "Master, we've really offended the White Tiger sect this time." Yu entered the room and took the white tiger armor. She carefully folded it. It was soft and delicate to the touch. It seemed to be some kind of animal skin. It was spotless and did not need to be washed. "So be it." Bai Feng scoffed. "Once my white tiger armor wins, their momentum will be over. They won't dare to go after Zhao Dai anymore. Zhao Dai has completely gained a foothold." "That's it?" Yu was surprised. "Zhao Dai has killed the He brothers, He Jingchuan and He Jingjiang. He has already killed 5 elders, and only 3 of the 8 grand elders are left. There are 4 pieces of white tiger armor, and only 1 piece is left. How are we going to go after Zhao Dave? Young Master Zhao killed the He brothers? Yu Ru's eyes widened. Bai Feng said, "This young man. Sigh, now that the situation has developed, we've made the right move. Go to his room and explain things to him." "Yes." Yu Ru nodded. She gently pushed open the door to Chu Li's room and saw that he was cultivating on the bed. It seemed as if Fu Yu and the others had not pushed open the door to this room. It was as if he had been sitting there all this time and had been smiling at her with his ugly face. "Miss Yu Ru," Chu Li said with a smile. Yu Ru asked, "Young Master Zhao killed the He brothers?" "Yes." Chu Li nodded. "Thanks to the stupefying howl, my sneak attack was successful. Please thank your master on my behalf." Yu Ru looked at him from head to toe. She could not imagine how he had managed to kill 2 elders. She had witnessed Fu Yu's martial arts before. It was truly unfathomable and unstoppable. The He brothers were no weaker than Fu Yu, but he had managed to kill 2 of them. It was hard to imagine how powerful his martial arts was. Chu Li pointed at a bundle on the table. "There's a white tiger armor inside. I've obtained 2 pieces, so I'm giving 1 to you as a token of my gratitude." "I can't accept it." Yu Ru quickly waved her hand. "It's too expensive." Chu Li said, "Take it." "Without your help, I would have escaped back to the Great Light Peak a long time ago. I wouldn't have been able to obtain these. Without the stupefying howl, I wouldn't have been able to kill the He brothers. If I refuse, you'll be looking down on me." "All right." Yu Ru nodded helplessly. "Oh right, Master has won a white tiger armor from Fu Yu. He said that the white tiger sex pursuit should be over soon. Young Master Zhao, you don't have to hide anymore." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. "I really have to thank Senior Bai. The White Tiger sect only had 1 white tiger armor, so they would not dare to pursue him anymore." Yu Ru smiled. "Young Master Zhao, please bear with it for a little longer. I think they'll leave soon." Chu Li nodded. The next day, Zhou Ningyi and Fu Yu left Gale City. Yu Ru quickly told Chu Li the good news. Chu Li decided to wait for a few more days before leaving. 5 days later, in the evening, Yu Ru came to deliver dinner. She placed the dishes on the table one by one with graceful movements. Chu Li sat at the table. "Miss Yu Ru, it's time for me to leave. Before I leave, I'd like to meet Senior Bai and thank her in person. I'll report this to Master." Yu Ru nodded. Chu Li nodded and picked up his chopsticks. Yu Ru left but soon returned. "Master said that you can go over after you're done eating. She wants to meet you too." Chu Li smiled. He finished his meal quickly and wiped his mouth. Then, he followed Yu Ru into a house. Bai Feng sat cross-legged on the bed and looked at him lazily. Chu Li gave a fist salute and bowed. "Greetings, Senior Bai. Thank you for teaching me." Bai Feng waved her slender hand and said, "It's fate. It's just a coincidence. How do I repay you?" Chu Li went straight to the point. Bai Feng chuckled. "It's nothing much. If Yu Ru is in trouble in the future, just lend her a hand. That'll be enough to repay me." Chu Li nodded. "As long as I'm in Gale City, I'll take care of Miss Yu Ru. However, I'm afraid that I won't be able to stay in Gale City for long." "Yu Ru won't be staying in Gale City forever," Bai Feng said. Chu Li nodded. Chapter 8:17. Chu Li had an uncomfortable look on his face. Although she was a stunning beauty with eyes as clear as autumn water, she still felt uncomfortable being stared at like this. Yu Ru said softly, "Master." Bai Feng snapped back to her senses and shook her head. "I was distracted." "Do I look like someone?" Chu Li asked. Bai Feng shook her head. "I'm thinking about how far you can go in the Holy Church of Light." Chu Li asked, "Senior, do you know about the Holy Church of Light?" "I know a little." Bai Feng said, "You've contributed enough and your martial arts skills are good enough. All you need is a martial arts competition to become an inner mountain disciple. Chuli nodded. Once the Radiance clan was re-established, he would be qualified to participate in the mountain martial arts competition. He would become an inner mountain disciple if he was in the top 5. Becoming an inner mountain disciple seems to be in your bag, but you have to be careful of the people around you. Bai Feng shook her head. You'll become their target. If their martial arts skills are no match for yours, they'll find someone to destroy you and get rid of you. The disciples of the Holy Church of Light are forbidden to kill each other, Chuli said. Bai Feng laughed and shook her head. You can't be that naive, can you? You're a smart person. Do you really believe this? They won't do it themselves since they can't defeat you. Isn't it the same to find some masters to deal with you? You have many enemies. If they pretend to be from the White Tiger sect, who will know if it's true or not if they kill you? Chuli nodded slowly. Bai Feng asked, when will the martial arts competition be held? In half a year. Bai Feng shook her head. Then you won't have an easy time for the next 6 months. Chuli smiled. I'm not afraid of that. It'll be troublesome for you. Bai Feng pondered. There's a way. Stay in the Phoenix Goddess brothel. I'll implicate you. Chuli shook his head. Bai Feng scoffed. What can they do if you pretend to be infatuated with Yuru? Master. Yuru said softly. Bai Feng said, Yuru is a beauty. Zhao Dave, it's not surprising that you like her, right? Miss Yuru is so beautiful. Everyone will laugh at me for overestimating myself. Chuli scratched his head and smiled foolishly. Bai Feng glared at him. You're so silly when you smile like that. You should stop. I just can't help it, Chuli said embarrassedly. I know I don't look good when I smile. Then don't laugh. Bai Feng scoffed. Keep a straight face, maintain your dignity, and act like a big shot. People are so superficial and only look at the surface. All right. Chuli readily accepted his advice. Bai Feng said, That's settled then. She waved her hand. Chuli tactfully excused himself and left. Yuru sent him back to his room and then returned to Bai Feng's room. You haven't fallen for him yet? Bai Feng asked. Yuru shook her head gently. Bai Feng laughed and said, Girl, you sure have high standards. Do whatever you want, but you have to work harder on your cultivation. Yuru nodded gently. Bai Feng said, Once you've passed this level, you'll have the ability to protect yourself. I'll be able to return to the mountain with a peace of mind. Master, Yuru said reluctantly, are you deliberately delaying your advancement to keep me here? Of course not. Then practice hard. Yes. Yuru nodded gently. When she thought about how Chuli cultivated for 3 days straight, she was extremely envious. This kind of talent was really infuriating. Early in the morning, Chuli left the Phoenix Goddess brothel and went to the Radiance clan. The Radiance clan was bustling with activity. Dozens of people were working in full swing. The ruins had been turned into a construction site. Groups of people were working in an orderly manner. Some were building walls, some were digging a lake, and some were digging a foundation. Chuli saw Ko Chiong and the other two. Ko Chiong and the other two approached him and gave a fist salute. Clan leader. When will it be finished? Chuli waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to be so polite. Ko Chiong said, It'll be done in a month. A month? Chuli nodded. Don't try to fool me. Of course, we'll keep an eye on it. Ko Chiong patted his chest. Don't worry, clan leader. Chuli nodded in satisfaction. They stared at Chuli's expression and sighed in relief when they saw that he was satisfied. The current clan leader was different from the past. Everyone in Gale City knew that he had defeated the White Tiger sect and suppressed them. The power of a single person was so great that his rise was unstoppable. Chuli did not say much. He walked around the place and left to continue his cultivation. When the lanterns were lit, Gale City became a city that never slept. Chuli arrived at the Phoenix Goddess brothel and told the servant that he wanted to see Miss Yuru. However, the servant looked at him awkwardly. Young master, unfortunately, Miss Yu Ru already has a guest. My surname is Zhao Dave, Chu said. The servant was stunned for a moment before he smiled. So it's young Master Zhao. Please come in. Miss Yu Ru has instructed us to treat young Master Zhao well. I'm really sorry for my poor eyesight. Please come with me, I'll inform Miss Yu Ru immediately. Chu Li kept a straight face and nodded. Lead the way. The servant brought him to a room on the second floor and left quietly. Then, he went to another room and knocked on the door. A middle-aged man opened the door impatiently and glared at him coldly. Suddenly, the sound of stringed instruments filled the room, accompanied by Yu Ru's soft laughter and a young man's hearty laughter. What's the matter? The middle-aged man lowered his voice and scoffed. You've disturbed my young master's mood. Do you know what punishment you deserve? His eyes glinted as if two swords had pierced into the servant's eyes. The servant shrunk his neck and hurriedly said, I have something to report to Miss Yu Ru. Miss Yu Ru is drinking with my young master. She doesn't have the time. The middle-aged man waved his hand impatiently and kept his voice low. The servant hurriedly said, An important guest has arrived. Miss Yu Ru has instructed me to inform her the moment this guest arrives. Which important guest? I'd like to know, the middle-aged man said. What kind of important guest is more important than my young master? The servant revealed a troubled expression. Yu Ru's gentle voice was heard. What's the matter? The servant was relieved and hurriedly said, Miss, young Master Zhao is here. Oh, got it. Yu Ru's voice was heard. Don't disturb him. I'll be right there. Yes, the servant answered and quickly slipped away. He did not want to stay in front of this middle-aged man for even a moment longer. Yu Ru was dressed in an emerald gown, which made her look fresh and gentle. Under the light, her face looked like white jade. Her pearly white teeth were slightly exposed, and she smiled sweetly. The man sitting across from her was mesmerized. He was handsome and tall like a modern male model. His eyes were like cold stars, and his smile was charming and charming. He made people feel close to him. Who's young Master Zhao? He smiled. Is he Miss Yu Ru's important guest? Yu Ru chuckled. He's a friend. Oh, is he more important than my friend? The handsome man chuckled. Yu Ru smiled. Young Master Lu, you and young Master Zhao are both my friends. How can I neglect my friends when they're here? I'll be right back. Since we're friends, I'd like to meet this young Master Zhao too. Is that all right? The handsome man smiled. Yu Ru smiled and shook her head. Is this young Master Zhao's status too high that I can't meet him? The handsome man asked. Yu Ru smiled. Maybe another day. Chapter 8:18. Is he your sweetheart, Miss Yu Ru? The handsome young man scoffed. Yu Ru burst into laughter. Young Master Lu, what are you thinking? If he's not your sweetheart, why can't I go and see him? The handsome young man scoffed. That's too abrupt. Yu Ru smiled. All right, young Master Lu, let's do it another day. I'll take my leave now. She curtsied and left gracefully. The handsome young man could not stop her. She was not an ordinary lady. She was the face of the Phoenix Goddess brothel and the owner of the brothel. His handsome face darkened. He picked up the silver cup and took a sip. The originally fragrant wine suddenly became tasteless, and the melodious music became ear-piercing. He frowned and waved his hand. You may leave. The music stopped abruptly. Then, the ladies left the room. The middle-aged man approached him and asked in a low voice, Young master, what's wrong? It's nothing. Don't worry about it. The handsome young man waved his hand. Young master, is it because of that fellow with the surname Zhao? The middle-aged man asked. I'll go and take a look. Forget it. The handsome young man waved his hand. This is the Phoenix Goddess brothel. It's not a good place to cause trouble. The middle-aged man said, I'll just take a look and see who he is. That way, young master, you'll know better. All right. The handsome young man nodded. You're only allowed to take a look. Don't cause trouble. Yes, the middle-aged man replied. He strode to Chu Li's room and pushed the door open. Chu Li was chatting with Yu Ru. When he saw the middle-aged man, he glanced at him indifferently. His triangular eyes were calm and cold. The middle-aged man had a dignified appearance and sharp eyes. When he met Chu Li's cold gaze, he felt a chill down his spine. He then gave a fist salute and said, Miss Yu Ru, young master, I'm really sorry. I've entered the wrong room. Yu Ru looked at him helplessly. Go. Chu Li looked at him expressionlessly and waved his hand. He noticed that this middle-aged man was filled with killing intent and had killed many innocent people. It was inevitable that he would want to kill him. The middle-aged man was furious when he saw how arrogant Chu Li was. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. He glanced at Yu Ru and suppressed his killing intent. He gave a fist salute and left. Then, he closed the door and glared at Chu Li before he left. Yu Ru replied sheepishly, He's a guest's attendant. This follower is not an ordinary person. Chu Li said, I'm sure you're not an ordinary person either. Yu Ru replied, He's Lu Xiaofeng from the Flaming Sun sect. He's also the vice-clan leader of the Blazing Sun clan. That's quite a high position. No wonder. Chu Li nodded. Unlike me, who's just a clan leader without any followers, the Blazing Sun clan is a big association in Gale City. It's only slightly inferior to the Roaring Tiger clan, Yu Ru said. Chu Li smiled. He's a big shot indeed. You go ahead and entertain him, I'll be staying here tonight. Don't listen to Master, Yu Ru said anxiously. Chu Li shook his head and said, I think Senior Bai is right. Yu Ru shook her head helplessly. You really don't have to do this. I'm homeless now too. Chu Li smiled. The Radiance clan has been demolished. All right then. Yu Ru nodded gently. You can have the room on the 3rd floor. You can stay there whenever you want. Let's drink here for now, Chu Li said with a smile. We can finally relax for a while. Hopefully, the people from the White Tiger sect won't come and cause trouble again. I don't think so. Yu Ru pursed her lips and smiled. She could tell that he did not care about the people from the White Tiger sect at all. His generosity was admirable. At that moment, someone knocked on the door. Yu Ru raised her voice. Who is it? Miss Yu Ru, it's me. Lu Xiaofeng's clear voice rang out. Yu Ru frowned slightly and walked to the door helplessly. When she opened the door, she saw Lu Xiaofeng standing outside and smiling at her. Miss Yu Ru, please forgive my rudeness, but I'd like to meet young Master Zhao. Yu Ru frowned and said, Young Master Lu, this isn't appropriate. Please leave. I'm just making friends. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. What's inappropriate about this? Please come in. Chu Li's voice rang out. Lu Xiaofeng smiled at Yu Ru and stepped into the room. Yu Ru had no choice but to step aside and let him pass. When Lu Xiaofeng entered the room and saw Chu Li sitting by the table, he gave a fist salute and smiled. I'm Lu Xiaofeng. Greetings, young Master Zhao. I hope you won't mind my intrusion. Chu Li sat firmly on the chair and shook his head. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. We're all brothers in this world. I like to make friends. May I know your name, young Master Zhao? Chu Li replied, Zhao Daif. Zhao Daif, brother Zhao. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. Sorry for not recognizing you. Then, his expression changed and he smiled. Zhao Daif. Chu Li nodded. I'm Zhao Daif. Isn't my name a little old-fashioned? Zhao Daif from Radiance clan? Lu Xiaofeng asked. Chu Li nodded slowly. Lu Xiaofeng turned to look at Yu Ru. Yu Ru nodded and said, Yes, young Master Zhao. Lu Xiaofeng shook his head and laughed. I didn't expect Miss Yu Ru's friend to be this young Master Zhao. Chu Li said, No discord, no concord. I've fought with Miss Yu Ru before and I admire her martial arts skills. That's why I came over to have a chat. May I know which faction you're from, young Master Lu? Your cultivation level is quite impressive. Lu Xiaofeng felt uncomfortable when he heard Chu Li speaking like an elder, as if he was of a higher generation than him. However, when he thought about Chu Li's identity, he was afraid. Zhao Dai was the one who had killed 5 grand elders of White Tiger sect. I'm the deputy clan leader of Blazing Sun Clan, Lu Xiaofeng said. Blazing Sun Clan. Chu Li nodded. You must be a disciple of Flaming Sun sect. May I know who your master is? Yu Ru replied. Young Master Lu's master is Senior Zhang Juanrui. Chu Li nodded. So it's Senior Zhang. I've heard of him. Miss Yu Ru, please go and entertain young Master Lu. I'll be fine here. I'm just looking for a place to drink. It doesn't matter if someone's accompanying me or not. That won't do. Yu Ru shook her head. You're too rude. You're welcome. Chu Li waved a hand. Young Master Lu is more important. Go ahead. Hee. Lu Xiaofeng said, if you don't mind, why don't we sit together so that Miss Yu Ru won't be put in a difficult position? I see. Chu Li nodded. That's fine too. Miss Yu Ru, what do you think? Lu Xiaofeng sat across Chu Li. Yu Ru looked at the two of them. She could sense that the atmosphere between the two of them was not right. It seemed like Lu Xiaofeng was unconvinced by Zhao Dai and wanted to test him. It was no wonder that Lu Xiaofeng was unconvinced. Lu Xiaofeng was a top-notch genius of Flaming Sun sect and the youth champion. He was able to become the deputy clan leader of Blazing Sun Clan at such a young age. How could a genius be easily convinced by another genius? Moreover, Lu Xiaofeng had not seen Zhao Dai kill the elders of White Tiger sect with his own eyes. She frowned to herself but smiled without changing her expression. Forget it. Young Master Lu, you should go back. Lu Xiaofeng's handsome face darkened. It seems like I'm not welcome here. Yu Ru said, I'll go back now. Young Master Lu, can you wait for a while? Chapter 8:19. Chu Li coughed softly and said, if young Master Lu wishes to stay, then so be it. It's boring for me to be alone. It's good to have someone to talk to. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. Young Master Zhao is truly forthright. Chu Li said, the Radiance clan will be established soon. I'll need your help in the future, young Master Lu. How many people does young Master Zhao's Radiance clan intend to recruit? He sat down and glanced at Yu Ru. Yu Ru shook her head helplessly. She still felt that something was wrong. Zhao Dai might be fine, but Lu Xiaofeng would definitely not accept it. He was a disciple of the Flaming Sun sect. If he made a move, Zhao Dai would easily misunderstand him. The Flaming Sun sect and the White Tiger power were allies, and it would not be easy to resolve the situation if things got out of hand. Chu Li smiled. 100 people will be enough. 100 people. Lu Xiaofeng said, that's not enough in Gale City. Chu Li said, martial arts is the most important thing. I can't be bothered with people. There's strength in numbers. Lu Xiaofeng said, if there's a conflict in the future, we'll be at a disadvantage if we don't have enough people. However, young Master Zhao's martial arts are outstanding, so you're not afraid of this. You've single-handedly killed 5 of the White Tiger sect's supreme elders. How impressive! I'm impressed. Chu Li shook his head and said, I was just lucky. If the 5 of them had attacked me at once, I would have died a long time ago. They came in batches, which gave me an opportunity to take advantage of. Young Master Lu's cultivation level isn't bad either. Although it can't be compared to the elders of the White Tiger sect, it's still rare among the younger generation. Far worse than young Master Zhao. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. Yu Ru secretly sighed in relief. The two of them were better than he had imagined. They did not start fighting. Lu Xiaofeng asked, may I know how long Master Zhao has known Miss Yu Ru? 1 month. Chu Li smiled and said, the last time I visited Miss Yu Ru, she used the musical assassination technique. The Tian Luo sect's hospitality is indeed unique. Lu Xiaofeng said, Could it be that the musical assassination technique can't do anything to young Master Zhao? Yu Ru said, young Master Zhao has extraordinary willpower. The musical assassination technique is useless against him. That's the bane of the Tianluo sect. Lu Xiaofeng smiled and said, I can't do it. I can only surrender when encountering the musical assassination technique. It's impossible to guard against it. Yu Ru pursed her lips and smiled. He's not that powerful. Lu Xiaofeng said, young Master Zhao, there's something I don't understand. Chu Li glanced at him and said, young Master Lu, it's better if you don't say it. Lu Xiaofeng shook his head. I have to get this out of my chest. When Yu Ru noticed the change in Chu Li's expression, she quickly said, young Master Lu, since young Master Zhao doesn't want to hear it, it's better that you don't tell him. When Lu Xiaofeng saw how biased she was toward Chu Li, he became even more displeased. However, the smile on his face grew wider. As a disciple of the Flaming Sun sect, I can't help but mention how my master's junior Pang died. Chu Li's face darkened and he looked at him coldly. He stared at Chu Li without showing any signs of weakness and did not budge an inch. The joyful atmosphere in the room suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a tense atmosphere. Yu Ru sighed to herself. She shook her head and said, young Master Lu, why must you do this? My martial Uncle Pang can't have died in vain, can he? Lu Xiaofeng coldly said, I don't know how he offended young Master Zhao, to be killed by young Master Zhao. Young Master Lu. Yu Ru frowned. Chu Li waved his hand to interrupt her. Yu Ru looked at him in confusion. Chu Li scoffed. There's no harm in telling you, but he's already dead. It's as good as not saying anything. Tell me about it, Lu Xiaofeng said. Chu Li said, Tan Jin and I were both severely injured at the time. Both of us were out of energy, and we were competing to see who would recover first. At that moment, your master's junior Pang appeared and wanted to help Tan Jin kill me. Naturally, I had to kill him. Then why did master's junior Pang possess the white tiger killing skill? Lu Xiaofeng asked with a frown. Chu Li shook his head and said, Tan Jin was out of his mind and blind. As a result, the white tiger killing skill struck him. Of course, he didn't expect Tan Jin to kill him. I killed him while he was injured and then killed Tan Jin. Speaking of which, I should thank your master's junior Pang. That's impossible, Lu Xiaofeng shouted. Chu Li said, if he hadn't appeared, I would have killed Tan Jin in the end. However, it would have taken me a lot of effort. Your master's junior Pang was a powerful person who hid his strength well. His cultivation level was about the same as Tan Jin's. That's impossible, Lu Xiaofeng shouted. Chu Li spread his hand. You won't believe me even if I tell you. He turned to Yu Ru and smiled. Speaking of which, Miss Yu Ru, you should thank Elder Pang. Yu Ru frowned. Young Master Zhao, is this true? Of course. Chu Li said, the Flaming Sun sect is quite loyal to the White Tiger sect. I'm just not sure if the White Tiger sect believes in your loyalty. Lu Xiaofeng laughed coldly. It was a disciple of the White Tiger sect who saved Master's junior Pang back then. Master's junior Pang is grateful to the White Tiger sect and the White Tiger sect trusts Master's junior Pang. Chu Li smiled. Will the White Tiger sect believe you? I don't think so. He died a wrongful death. Even after his death, the White Tiger sect still suspects him. What a pity! Lu Xiaofeng's expression darkened. Zhao, you killed my benefactor. I swear I'll kill you, the middle-aged man suddenly shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw a punch at Chu Li. Chu Li dodged to the side. Young Master Lu, is this your way of controlling your subordinates? Your subordinate is so presumptuous to attack without permission. Lu Xiaofeng scoffed. Elder Huang, stand down. The middle-aged man, Elder Huang, threw another punch. Young master, forgive me for not obeying you. This guy is too despicable. My benefactor died a wrongful death, but he's gloating over it. He's despicable and shameless. I won't be able to comfort my benefactor's soul in heaven if I don't kill him. I must kill him and shut that stinky mouth of his forever." Chu Li dodged to the side and frowned as he glanced at Lu Xiaofeng. Lu Xiaofeng said, "You're no match for him. I'll do anything for justice." The middle-aged man, Elder Huang, was impassioned as he threw another punch. Chu Li calmly said, "Then I'll fulfill your wish." He threw a gentle punch. It was a divine light fist. Bang! Elder Huang's body trembled as his body arched like a prawn. It was as if he had been punched in the stomach. Chu Li calmly retracted his fist. Elder Huang spat out a mouthful of blood and fell limply to the ground. He was dead. "Zhao Dai." Lu Xiaofeng was furious. "You've crossed the line." Chu Li's triangular eyes glinted coldly as he said, "So what if I've crossed the line? I'd like to see what you're capable of." Lu Xiaofeng shouted angrily as he threw a palm attack. His palm was glowing red and his palm energy was scorching hot. Chu Li threw a punch. The divine light fist collided with the palm energy and the heat dispersed. Lu Xiaofeng was sent flying and slammed into the door with a loud bang. As the door trembled, Lu Xiaofeng slid to the ground and sat motionlessly on the carpet. There was blood at the corner of his mouth as he tried his best to keep his eyes open. The fist energy of the divine light fist penetrated his body and burned his inner energy, eroding his internal organs. He desperately tried to expel it or he would die in the next moment. Yu looked at him anxiously before turning to look at Chu Li. Chu Li shook his head and said, "What's the point of showing off like this? If you have the time to play around here, why don't you go back and cultivate?" Yu was annoyed. "Young Master Zhao," Chu Li said, "Miss Yu, you don't have a good eye. How can you like someone like this?" Chapter 820. "Young Master Zhao, what are you talking about?" Yu stomped her feet as she blushed. Chu Li said, "It's okay. He can't hear me." Yu retorted, "It's not like that. Don't talk nonsense." Chu Li smiled and nodded. "I won't talk about it, but you should know what Senior Bai will do if he finds out." Yu frowned and sighed helplessly. "Senior Bai will never fall for someone like him." Chu Li pointed at Lu Xiaofeng and shook his head. "He's good on the outside but rotten on the inside. How can he be a good match for you, Miss Yu? That's what Senior Bai thinks." "I'm not that good." Yu shook her head. "Besides, young Master Lu isn't that bad. He's the top youth master of the Flaming Sun sect and has a bright future." "All right, it's up to you," Chu Li said. "I'm doing this for your sake. Otherwise, young Master Lu won't be able to live. I've never shown mercy to my enemies, just like that guy over there." He pointed at Elder Huang, who was motionless. Elder Huang was already dead and his body was starting to stiffen. Chu Li had long disliked him because he had killed many innocent people and should have died long ago. Since he had offended him, there was no reason for him to let him go. "He's dead?" Yu's expression changed slightly. Chu Li nodded. "Do you think I'll let him live?" "Young Master Zhao." Yu was displeased. "He only scolded you a little. His mouth is a little harsh, but you don't have to kill him, do you?" "It's up to me whether I kill him or not," Chu Li said calmly. "You can check the lives he has killed and you'll know whether he deserves to die or not." Yu hesitated and looked at him doubtfully. Chu Li pointed at his eyes and said, "I'm very good at judging people. He's an unforgivable villain. Killing him is a good deed." Yu shook her head. Lu Xiaofeng suddenly spat out another mouthful of blood. Chu Li pouted. "He's so weak. Should I help him?" "Don't kill him or you'll blame me for the rest of your life." Women would never fall for him no matter how good his martial arts skills were. He had used this appearance to avoid entangling himself with the people around him. At this moment, he was a little upset. No matter what, a beautiful woman was ignoring him and giving her heart to another man. He would not feel comfortable. Let him do it himself, Yu Ru said anxiously. Chu Li said, "You're quite considerate of his pride." Yu Ru hurriedly replied, "That's not true. I don't think there's a need for us to meddle in this matter. Since he's already been beaten, there's no need to save him anymore." Chu Li grinned and said, "Then I really won't save him. He won't be able to cure him with his abilities. The Divine Light Fist isn't an ordinary fist technique. Once he can't suppress the fist force, his injuries will worsen." "There's no need," Yu Ru said slowly. Chu Li pretended not to notice her hesitation. He was overjoyed and shook his head. "Forget it then. I'll go up first. Take good care of him." As he spoke, he pushed away his cup, stood up, and left without saying anything. Yu Ru curtsied and sent him off. Then, she returned to the house and checked Elder Huang's breathing. Indeed, he was dead. She probed Lu Xiaofeng again. In this short period of time, Lu Xiaofeng's face was as pale as paper and his breathing was rapid. His injuries had worsened. It seemed that Zhao Dai was not exaggerating when he said that the Divine Light Fist was very powerful. If young Master Lu could not handle it, his injuries would worsen. As she thought of this, she took out a porcelain bottle from her inner pocket and poured out 2 pills. Then, she stuffed them into Lu Xiaofeng's mouth and said softly, "Young Master Lu, do you want me to help you?" Lu Xiaofeng shook his head gently. Yu Ru took a step back and sat by the table. She watched as Lu Xiaofeng sat cross-legged and channeled. White steam rose from the top of his head and soon, it became as thick as smoke. After a while, the thick fog on top of Lu Xiaofeng's head slowly dissipated. His face was still as pale as a sheet of paper and was covered with a layer of green gas. His injuries had worsened. Yu Ru frowned and clutched her sleeves tightly. Her spirit medicine did not work. She could not care less about Lu Xiaofeng's opinion anymore. She sat cross-legged behind him and pressed both her palms on his back. An ethereal stream of inner energy entered his body, and the originally burning flame suddenly expanded. All the inner energy rushed into the flame, and was burned by the flame, strengthening the flame itself. Yu Ru was shocked. This ball of flames was extremely pure. Her inner energy did not pose any threat to it at all. Instead, it became nourishment for the flames. It was no wonder that Lu Xiaofeng had suffered such a great loss when faced with such a difficult fist force. She slowly withdrew her inner energy, and did not dare to help him anymore. She would only make things worse. Lu Xiaofeng spat out another mouthful of blood. It was black and smelly. Yu Ru wanted to ask her master for help, but she knew that her master would not help him. "Young Master Lu," Yu Ru said softly, "I'll ask young Master Zhao for help." Lu Xiaofeng struggled to open his eyes and wiped the corner of his mouth. He took out a silk handkerchief from his sleeve and wiped it clean. Then, he tidied up his appearance and gritted his teeth as he staggered to his feet. "I won't let him help me. I'll leave first." "Are you okay?" Yu Ru supported him with both hands and said worriedly, "I'll get someone to send you back." "There's no need for that." Lu Xiaofeng looked down at Elder Huang and sighed. "I'll get someone to pick him up. Miss Yu Ru, I'm sorry." Yu Ru shook her head. "It's my fault. I shouldn't have let you two meet each other." Lu Xiaofeng laughed self-deprecatingly. He had been full of confidence and was not convinced of Zhao Dai's strength. Now, he realized that he had been too short-sighted. Chu Li's punch had shown him what it meant to have a profound cultivation level and what it meant to be unreachable. He staggered out of the Phoenix Goddess brothel and returned to the Blazing Sun clan with great difficulty. As soon as he arrived at the entrance of the clan, someone noticed that he looked pale and hurried over to help him up. Lu Xiaofeng struggled to make his way back, but he was already at his limit. He muttered, "Send me to see my master." He immediately fainted. Everyone hurriedly sent him to Zhang Juanrue's courtyard. Zhang Juanrue was dressed in a green robe and was sitting in the courtyard, drinking by himself. The moonlight shone like water and he looked relaxed. When he heard footsteps and knocks on the door, he shouted, "Come in!" 4 people carried Lu Xiaofeng into the courtyard. Zhang Juanrui frowned and approached them to check Lu Xiaofeng's pulse. He scoffed and said, "You can leave now. Leave him to me." "Yes," everyone responded. They could feel his anger and carefully left the courtyard. Zhang Juanrui carried him to the bed in the house and helped him sit behind him. He channeled to help him heal his injuries. The next morning, the bright sunlight shone through the paper window, illuminating the house with a gentle glow. Zhang Juanrui let go of his hands with a gloomy expression. The fist force of the Divine Light Fist was extremely difficult to deal with. Chu Li's Divine Light Fist force was even more difficult to deal with. It was infused with the characteristics of the Cloud slashing power, which allowed it to devour and strengthen itself. Unless the opponent had an overwhelming advantage and suppressed it with the force of Mount Tai, it would only grow stronger and stronger. Zhang Juanrui spent the whole night suppressing the fist force of the Divine Light Fist. He could not completely expel it, so it was a hidden danger in his body. If he were to face the owner of this Divine Light Fist, he would be in grave danger. Chapter 821. P.S. I wish everyone a happy Chinese Valentine's Day. Early in the morning, when Yu brought Chu Li his breakfast, she realized that he was not there. Chu Li had returned to his original appearance and appeared at Tianshu Courtyard in King An's imperial residence. He was upset that Yu liked Lu Xiaofeng. He missed Shao Qi even more, so he eagerly returned to Tianshu Courtyard in the morning. He felt that his nature restoration manifestation had improved after the fight and desperate struggle, so he wanted to test its power. Moreover, he could not break Shao Qi's inner state in one go. He had to use the spirit of dripping water to penetrate a stone, so he had to come back often. In Tianshu Courtyard, a gentle breeze blew. Shao Shi and Shao Qi were sitting at the stone table in the courtyard, ready to eat. Chu Li suddenly appeared and smiled. "You're finally back." Shao Shi waved her hand and looked at him. She was dressed in a bluish-white gown and looked extremely beautiful. Her eyes were like autumn water. Shao Qi was dressed in a snow-white gown and looked like a jade statue. She glanced at him with eyes as cold as a cold spring. Chu Li smiled. "Has it been peaceful? With younger sister here, no one dares to come." Shao Shi smiled. Chu Li nodded and glanced at Shao Qi. "My lady's martial arts didn't improve much." Shao Qi glanced at him without saying a word. She knew that he was trying to provoke her. Chu Li smiled. "How about we have a fight?" "No need," Shao Qi said. "My lady is no match for me now." Chu Li said, "I'm about to become an inner mountain disciple of the Holy Church of Light. I've recently obtained many antique studies, such as the musical assassination skill and the white tiger killing skill. Do you want to come with me?" "No need," Shao Qi said. "Younger sister, can you beat Chu Li now?" "I can't," Shao Qi said. Chu Li smiled. "How will you know if we don't fight?" A purple shadow flashed between his fingers. Shao Qi's heart ached before she could pull out her sword. When she looked down, she saw a purple knife stuck to her heart. She frowned and looked at Chu Li coldly. Chu Li smiled. "This is the light blade. How powerful is it?" As the nature restoration manifestation's boundary deepened, Chu Li was able to sense Shao Qi's state of mind more precisely. He knew that if he wanted to break her state of mind, he could not be too gentle nor could he go along with her. He had to go against her in every aspect. As long as he infuriated her a few times and made her lose her mental state when facing him, he would have the opportunity to enter her heart and enter her heart. Shao Qi picked up the purple knife. It was carved from sandalwood and was a very delicate knife. It was slightly heavy in her hand, but the knife was not sharpened, so it did not have much power. However, it was still very painful to hit someone. Chu Li replied, "I've cultivated the Eternity Blade before. Now that I've cultivated the Light Blade, I can achieve twice the results with half the effort. Now I've perfected it." "Perfection?" Xiao Shi asked curiously, Light blade has perfection? Chu Li nodded. The light blade has a total of 9 levels, and the power of each level is stacked. The power of the 9th level is astonishing. Then let's give it a try. Xiao sure like to watch a show, little sister, give it a try. Chu Li smiled at Xiao Qi. Do you dare to give it a try, my lady? How do you want to test it? Xiao Qi also wanted to see the power of the light blade's 9th level. My lady, put on your treasured clothing and armor, Chu Li said. It's best to wear more layers. It's that strong? Xiao sure asked. The snakeskin that we made can't block it? It can't, Chu Li said. Suddenly, he had a thought. If the snakeskin could not block it, it meant that he could kill the flying snake. This was great news. The gallbladder and meat of the flying snakes were extremely rare and precious items. Eating them would bring him endless benefits. He suddenly had an urge to go to 100,000 Hills to take a look. Perhaps with the light blade, he would have some power to protect himself. Xiao sure praised. Then 2 layers it is. I don't believe that you can penetrate it. Chu Li smiled and nodded. All right. Xiao Qi was curious after hearing what Chu Li said. She said, I'll give it a try. Xiao sure brought her into the house. Soon, Xiao Qi came out with a change of clothes. She wore a white tunic on the outside and 2 layers of snakeskin armor on the inside. Xiao Qi's body was slender, and her clothes were loose. In addition, the snakeskin was thin, so it was almost like silk. Chu Li said, Be careful. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Qi was sent flying and hit the wall. Xiao Qi fell from the wall and stood steadily. She looked at Chu Li in surprise. She looked down at her chest. There was a hole in her shirt, but the flying blade was nowhere to be seen. Chu Li smiled. How about another stab? All right. Xiao Qi scoffed. As soon as she finished speaking, she was sent flying again and hit the wall. She felt a faint pain in her chest. She had suffered a minor injury. Chu Li smiled. That wasn't my full strength. How do you feel? Where's the blade? It's an invisible blade. Chu Li smiled. It's condensed from inner energy. He moved his hand. Bang! A blade mark appeared on the wall. The mark was as deep as a finger. It looked like a mark left by a treasured blade. Xiao Qi frowned as she looked at the mark. She slowly nodded. It's not bad indeed. She could feel the hidden force. It was shocking. If she did not wear the snake armor, she would not have been able to block it. More importantly, the blade was extremely fast. She had no time to react. Looks like you've improved. Xiao sure smiled. You still have to go out and explore. You can't stay in the public house. It's a waste of your talent. Chu Li smiled. Is His Royal Highness still peaceful? He's been cultivating in isolation. Xiao sure said. According to my sister, his martial arts progress is very fast. Xiao Qi nodded. His Royal Highness is a genius in martial arts. His progress is very fast. You can't be careless. Of course. Chu Li smiled and nodded. If it really did not work, he would cripple him again. Let's see if he could cultivate faster or if he could cripple him faster. He was a little happy. He realized that Xiao Qi's state of mind was slightly damaged by him. While making her admire him, he also infuriated her. The effect was not bad. As long as he persevered, he could completely destroy her state of mind and occupy her heart again. Lu Xiaofeng slowly opened his eyes. When he saw Zhang Juanrui standing in front of him, he quickly bowed. Master. Who hurt you? Zhang Juanrui scoffed. Lu Xiaofeng hesitated. Zhang Juanrui said, It can't be Zhao Dai, right? Lu Xiaofeng nodded reluctantly. He felt embarrassed, especially in front of Miss Yu Ru. It was a great humiliation to be beaten so badly that he could not fight back. How did you get into a fight with Zhao Dai? Zhang Juanrui frowned. Don't you know that he killed 5 elders of the White Tiger sect? Do you think he got lucky? No matter how lucky you are, can you kill an elder of the White Tiger sect? Lu Xiaofeng said. He said that Master's Junior Pang wanted to help Tan Jin kill him but was accidentally injured by Tan Jin. He took the opportunity to kill Master's Junior Pang and then Tan Jin, so Master's Junior Pang was wronged. Even they thought that Pang Jinshui wanted to kill them, so he was killed by them and took advantage of the situation. They never thought that Pang Jinshui was helping Tan Jin. Since the dead can't tell the truth, it doesn't matter what he says, Zhang Juanrui said coldly. You're not convinced, so you found an opportunity to kill him, right? Lu Xiaofeng knew that he could not hide his thoughts from his master, so he slowly nodded. Before Zhao Dai came, he was the #1 genius in Gale City. When Zhao Dai appeared, everyone in Gale City was in the limelight, and Lu Xiaofeng became dull like a star that had met the bright moon. Zhang Juanrui said, "Now you know the difference between you and Zhao Dai, don't you?" Chapter 822. That's good. Zhang Juanrui scoffed. You can't judge Zhao Dai with common sense. He's so young and his cultivation level is even purer than mine. You'll have to rely on yourself to get rid of the fist force from the divine light fist. Yes. Lu Xiaofeng gritted his teeth. It seemed that in order to defeat Zhao Dai, he would have to surpass his master first. Zhang Juanrui scoffed. If you can't defeat me, don't fight Zhao Dai. You'll only embarrass yourself and lose your life. Yes. Lu Xiaofeng nodded. Master, he killed Elder Huang. So be it, Zhang Juanrui said. It'll save me some trouble. I don't have to deal with him personally. Lu Xiaofeng was shocked. Zhang Juanrui scoffed. He did a lot of things behind your back. You're young and naive, so you were fooled by him. It can't be, Lu Xiaofeng quickly said. He was quite obedient in front of me. That's why I said you're young and easy to deceive. There are many people like you. Zhang Juanrui waved his hand. Continue cultivating. Don't worry about the rest. Don't worry about Miss Yuru either. Yes. Lu Xiaofeng nodded reluctantly. Yuru's beautiful face appeared in his mind. He desperately wanted to be with her, but he could not beat Zhao Dai now. He had to surpass Zhao Dai in martial arts to get Yuru back and be worthy of her. For the next few days, Chu Li stayed in the Phoenix Goddess brothel. In the middle of the night, the Phoenix Goddess brothel was as luxurious as usual. The sound of stringed instruments lingered in the air like a heavenly palace. A gray-robed elder hurried to the brothel and grabbed the servant. Bring me to clan leader Zhao Dai. Young Master Zhao. The servant was shocked and quickly said, He's an important guest of the Phoenix Goddess brothel. May I know who you are? Bring me there immediately. I have something urgent to attend to. The gray-robed elder, Lu Shu, lifted the servant up. If there's any delay, I'll hold you responsible. Even if Master beats me to death, I won't dare to bring you there directly. The servant complained helplessly. Why don't you put me down first? I'll go and report to young Master Zhao. What do you think? Lu Shu glared at him, put him down, and patted his shoulder. Go, my name is Lu Shu. Yes, yes. The manservant hurriedly answered and ran upstairs. Chu Li stuck his head out from a window on the second floor and shouted, Come up! Lu Shu quickly floated up and entered through the window. Standing up straight, he cupped his fists and greeted, Hall Master. Chu Li frowned. Tell me, what is it? Old Ko can't hold on any longer. Lu Shu hurriedly said, He was ambushed and severely injured. It looks like he can't be saved. Chu Li asked, When did this happen? Old Ko has just escaped back. Lu Shu said, His injuries are too severe. He's about to die. Chu Li nodded. All right, I'll go take a look. With that, he disappeared in a flash. Lu Shu jumped out of the window and hurried back. His heart was burning with anxiety. He wished he could spread his wings and fly back. The three of them had been together for a long time and were used to it. They could not accept losing one of them all of a sudden. Old people were more afraid of death. The three of them had just started to have a good life, but they did not expect old Ko to die soon. Fate was unpredictable. They did not know how many days they had left to live. Chuli appeared in the house and saw that Ko Cheong was barely breathing. His face was pale and his chest was heaving violently. He was on the verge of death. Feng Wuji was sitting in front of the bed, looking at him with a bitter face and holding his hand. Chuli waved his hand. "Move!" When Feng Wuji saw Chuli, he hurriedly called out, "Hall Master." Chuli waved his hand. Feng Wuji hurriedly took 2 steps back. Chuli took out a jade bottle, poured out a snow-white pill, and stuffed it into Ko Cheong's mouth. Then, he pressed on Ko Cheong's chest a few times and pressed on his precordium. Spiritual energy surged into Ko Cheong's body. After a while, Ko Cheong's face was rosy and the aura of death was gone. He was full of vitality. Feng Wuji and Lu Shu, who had just returned, widened their eyes. They knew that Ko Cheong's injuries were severe. His internal organs were shattered, and he would definitely die. They had brought Chuli back with a sliver of hope, but they did not expect him to be saved. Ko Cheong slowly regained consciousness. Chuli scoffed. "What happened? Who ambushed you?" Ko Cheong had a bitter look on his face. He sighed. "Hall Master, I don't know either. They were all masked." "How many of them?" "4. 4. Chuli had already seen the scene in Ko Cheong's mind. "Were they from the White Tiger sect?" Feng Wuji scoffed. "They must be unhappy that they were suppressed by you. Moreover, they killed 5 elders, so they must be thinking of ways to take revenge. If they can't deal with you, they'll deal with us." "That makes sense." Lu Shu nodded. Chuli looked at Ko Cheong. Ko Cheong frowned. The martial arts they used were all ordinary martial arts. They didn't use any unique martial arts, but they were all grandmasters. Their cultivation levels are not inferior to mine. Chuli said, "Let me handle this. Be careful and don't act alone." He pondered and vaguely felt that one of the figures was familiar. He glanced at it and searched his mind. Then, he remembered. It was Zhang Juanrui. He had seen Zhang Juanrui through the omniscient mirror when he came to the Phoenix Goddess brothel with Zhou Ning and Fu Yu. "Rest well." Chuli waved his hand. "Hall Master, why don't you stay with us?" Lu Shu suggested. Chuli glared at him impatiently. Lu Shu chuckled. "Old Ko hasn't recovered yet. If someone comes, we'll have to take care of him and fight at the same time. I'm afraid we'll be at a disadvantage." "All right, I'll stay here tonight." Chuli scoffed. The 3 of them were overjoyed. Chuli shook his head. "You're all grandmasters, but you're so timid. It's really embarrassing. You'll bring shame to the Radiance clan when you lead them alone." "Hall Master, you're still young. You can't appreciate the beauty and preciousness of life. It'll be the same when you reach our age." Feng Wuji smiled. Chuli scoffed. He could not be bothered to talk to them and returned to his house. Early in the morning, the Blazing Sun Clan's headquarters was bustling with activity. Loud shouts could be heard as more than 200 people gathered on the martial arts field. Bang bang! 2 muffled sounds were heard as the protectors outside the hall flew into the courtyard. They fell to the ground and remained motionless as they fainted. The 2 muffled sounds were drowned out by the people's shouts. No one paid attention to them as they continued to practice their martial arts. Chuli stepped over the threshold and stepped into the Blazing Sun Clan's headquarters. He was dressed in white and wore a solemn expression. His triangular eyes emitted a cold gaze as he entered the courtyard. He stood on the steps and slowly scanned the people on the martial arts field. His gaze was so intense that everyone felt a chill down their spines. They could not help but look over. When the people noticed that something was amiss, they stopped cultivating. They understood what was going on at first glance and gradually gathered around Chuli. Chuli's gaze was cold and his expression was solemn. He yelled, "Zhang Juanrui, get out here! How dare you!" A middle-aged man stepped out from the crowd and shouted, "Who dares to call Elder Zhang by his name?" Chu Li stared at the middle-aged man. His gaze seemed to pierce through the man's eyes and see through his heart. The middle-aged man scoffed. "Who are you?" "I'm Zhao Dai from the Holy Church of Light," Chu Li replied slowly. Chapter 8:23. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Zhao Dai's name was well known in Gale City, and everyone knew about him. "Zhao Dai, why are you looking for Elder Zhang?" The middle-aged man gave a fist salute. His expression softened and his attitude became much more polite. Chu Li said loudly, "He ambushed my subordinate. I'd like to know what he's up to. Is he trying to provoke the Radiance clan?" He then shouted, "Zhang Juanrui, show yourself. Stop being a coward." His voice was like thunder that echoed through half of Gale City. Inside the Phoenix Goddess brothel, Bai Feng was sitting cross-legged on the couch. When she heard the shout, she opened her eyes and shook her head. Zhao Dai was really restless. He had just dealt with the White Tiger sect, and now, he wanted to deal with the Flaming Sun sect. Chu Li shouted again, "You have the guts to provoke the Radiance clan but don't have the guts to admit it. You're a coward. Is the Flaming Sun sect so useless?" Bai Feng sighed. Zhang Juanrui was really unlucky. Why did he have to provoke Zhao Dai? He probably wanted to provoke the White Tiger sect because he had the Ardent Sun armor. If he killed Zhao Dai, the Flaming Sun sect could step over the White Tiger sect and become more famous than them. Now that 5 of the White Tiger sect's 8 Grand Elders were dead and the remaining 3 were greatly weakened, the Flaming Sun sect could not help but attack them. She pulled the string on the bedside table. Yu quickly pushed the door open and entered. "Master! Why do you look so worried? Did something happen?" Bai Feng looked at her. Yu shook her head. If Master found out that Zhao Dai had injured Lu Xiaofeng, he would definitely guess that Yu was in love with Lu Xiaofeng. Then, she would be in big trouble. She might even be brought to another city or back to the mountain. Bai Feng's eyes sparkled as if she could read her mind. She scoffed. "Is it because of Lu Xiaofeng?" Yu was shocked and her jaw dropped. Bai Feng scoffed. "Why? Do you think I'm senile and don't know what you're thinking?" "Master, you know?" Yu stammered. Bai Feng scoffed. "It's so obvious. If I didn't know, I wouldn't be your master. Lu Xiaofeng is a good young man, but he's impetuous and needs to be tempered." "Master, you're not against it?" Yu asked in surprise. Bai Feng said, "Who hasn't liked this kind of man when they were young? He's extraordinarily handsome, so of course people like him." "Master also liked it when he was young?" "Of course." Bai Feng nodded and said, "In a few years, you'll understand that you can't judge a man by his looks. The key is still his ability." Yu nodded gently and sighed in relief. "It doesn't matter if you like him now, but you have to know that it's impossible for the two of you to be together. The Flaming Sun sect is our enemy. It's impossible for the Flaming Sun sect to allow him to marry you, and it's impossible for you to marry into the Flaming Sun sect," Bai Feng said. "What about young Master Zhao?" Yu asked. "Can I marry him if I like him?" "I can't," Bai Feng said. Yu said, "Master still wants me to get close to him. Our Tian Luo sect's disciples rarely marry." Bai Feng shook her head and said, "It won't be easy for you to get married in the future, so just find someone you like. It doesn't matter if it's Lu Xiaofeng or Zhao Dai. I'm asking you to befriend Zhao Dai for your own good." "I know you're doing this for me, Master," Yu said. Bai Feng smiled. "You might think that I'm materialistic and desecrating relationships, but when you reach my age, you'll understand the importance of status. Whether you want to be a lowly commoner or stand at the top of the world, it's usually a choice you make when you're young." "Yes, Master." Yu nodded. Bai Feng shook her head and sighed to herself. Back then, her master had tried to persuade her like this, but she refused to listen, just like Yu. Only when she reached her master's age would she understand her master's painstaking efforts back then. "Forget it, let's go and watch the show," Bai Feng said. Let's see what Zhao Dai is up to. Yes, Yuru replied. Bai Feng held her hand and glided out of the window. They flew in the air for a few dozen feet before descending. Then, they landed on the treetop of a locust tree and flew toward the Blazing Sun clan. Finally, the two of them stood silently on a roof not far away from the Blazing Sun clan and looked down at the situation there. Chu Li stood on the steps and faced the 200 people. He shouted, Zhang Juanrui, you coward! Hurry up and come out. You're the Flaming Sun Palm Elder, but you're as timid as a mouse. Won't you become a laughing stock in the world? His voice rumbled like thunder and echoed throughout half of the city. The 200 people took advantage of their numerical advantage and took a step forward to approach Chu Li. The middle-aged man who had spoken to Chu Li earlier shouted, Zhao Dai, Elder Zhang isn't here, so you're taking advantage of the fact that he's not around. Isn't this ridiculous? Chu Li laughed. Not here? He's probably hiding somewhere. Don't slander me, the middle-aged man shouted. If Elder Zhang was here, you wouldn't have dared to come here and behave atrociously. You're really good. I'm impressed. He even laughed out loud as he spoke so that the others could hear him. Chu Li scoffed. Zhang Juanrui, are you going to hide in the back and not come out? It's useless even if you shout yourself hoarse. Elder Zhang isn't here. You should know that. The middle-aged man shouted. Chu Li disappeared in a flash and reappeared among the 200 people. Bang! 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 Amidst three muffled sounds, the three middle-aged men flew high into the air and landed heavily on the ground. The muffled sound seemed to have caused the ground to shake. The crowd immediately took a step forward and glared at him with unfriendly expressions. Chu Li scoffed. Were the three of you and Zhang Juanrui the ones who ambushed my subordinates last night? How dare you? Did you think that I wouldn't be able to recognize you just because you covered your faces? The middle-aged man who had spoken earlier shouted, Zhao Dai, you're too arrogant. You're looking down on the Blazing Sun clan. Blazing Sun clan? Chu Li laughed coldly and lowered his head to look at the three middle-aged men. Since you dared to kill my subordinates, you should know what will happen to you. Whether you can live or not will depend on your luck. The three men sat up and channeled to suppress the Divine Light Fist. The Divine Light Fist was pure and violent. Their inner energy cultivation level was slightly inferior, so as soon as they channeled their inner energy, raging flames instantly burned and consumed their inner energy. It was like a rolling snowball that kept strengthening their bodies. Very well, we'd like to see how powerful your technique is. Everyone, let's attack together, the middle-aged man shouted. Without waiting for him to finish, Chu Li disappeared in a flash and went into the crowd. Bang 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 bang! Amidst the continuous muffled sounds, the figures were sent flying one after another and fell weakly to the ground. Chu Li's body movement technique was as fast as lightning. Before they could react, they had already been sent flying by his fist or palm energy. They no longer had the strength to fight back. Everyone, don't panic. Form your own teams. He's nothing special, the middle-aged man shouted. The crowd quickly formed their own teams. However, Chu Li's body movement technique was incredibly fast and unpredictable. Just as they were about to form a team, he immediately sent them away. None of them managed to form a team. Wherever he went, he was like an iron plow turning over the ground, sending figures flying everywhere. In just a short while, more than 200 Blazing Sun clan disciples were no longer standing. Even the middle-aged man who had commanded them earlier had suffered a punch and was forced to sit on the ground to channel his inner energy to heal his injuries. Chu Li did not stop them from channeling their inner energy to heal their injuries. He only threw a punch. Their lives depended on their own abilities. Chapter 824. Chu Li once again stood on the stairs and shouted, Zhang Juanrui, are you still not coming out? Good, you're amazing. Chu Li raised his voice and shouted, I'm impressed by your ability to endure. Enduring again and again, he's even more tolerant than a tortoise. What an outstanding person. Chu Li laughed heartily. Your Flaming Sun sect has endured for so many years. Now that you've finally gotten the chance to overthrow the White Tiger sect, I'm even more impressed. He laughed heartily after saying that. Master, is Elder Zhang really here? Yu Ru asked softly. Bai Feng snorted and said, if he's not here, where can he go? You're right, Yu Ru said. Bai Feng pursed her beautiful red lips and snorted. He knows that he can't defeat Zhao Dave, so he'll only humiliate himself by coming out. He can only endure it and pretend that he's not here. Chu Li glanced at the crowd, but they all lowered their gazes and refused to meet his gaze. After witnessing his ghost-like movements, lightning-fast palm and fist techniques, he knew that he was no match for him. It was useless to glare at him. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Chu Li raised his voice and said, You've injured my subordinates and I need spirit medicine to treat them. Compensate me with 500,000 taels. If you can pay me, I'll let you go. Otherwise, I'll burn down the Blazing Sun clan. Impossible, the injured middle-aged man said in a deep voice. We don't have that much money. I think you will. Chu Li laughed coldly. If I haven't delivered the money tomorrow morning, I'll come again. When that time comes, I won't be so courteous. I won't use palm techniques to deal with you, but sword techniques. After saying that, he turned around and strode away. After he walked out of the door, he floated over to Bai Feng, cupped his fists and said, Senior Bai also came to watch the show? It's really lively here, Bai Feng said with a smile. Zhang Juanrui has been forced to be a coward. How satisfying. Chu Li laughed. This fellow is cunning and sly. He won't be provoked. His skin is as thick as a wall. Even if you curse 10 generations of his ancestors, he won't show himself. Bai Feng shook her head and said, It's useless no matter how you scold him. If you kill Lu Xiaofeng, he will definitely fight you to the death. He. Chu Li glanced at Yu Ru. Yu Ru lowered her head and said, Master. Bai Feng said, How about it? Can we kill him? Chu Li chuckled. If I kill him, Miss Yu Ru will resent me for the rest of her life. Our friends will become enemies. Love affair. Bai Feng curled her red lips and snorted. You two are rivals after all. Chu Li said, I hope he's stronger, or else it'll be too boring. Yu Ru glared at him. Chu Li smiled. Senior Bai, I'll be going first. Go ahead. Bai Feng waved her hand. Be careful of the Flaming Sun sect. They are very treacherous. Chu Li nodded and glided away. Bai Feng shook her head and sighed. How awe-inspiring. He's a little too arrogant, Yu Ru commented. Bai Feng chuckled. You haven't seen through him yet. He looks foolish on the outside, but he's actually very smart. He doesn't do things without thinking. He's just throwing a tantrum. Yu Ru pouted. The more her master praised Zhao Dave, the more she felt conflicted. Bai Feng glared at her and didn't bother to say anything else. Master, aren't we leaving? Wait and see. Yu Ru stopped urging them as she was curious about what her master was waiting for. After a while, Zhang Juanrui glided out and flew past the crowd. He occasionally clapped his hands and finally landed behind the middle-aged man who had been talking. He pressed his palms on the man's back and channeled to help him heal. Bai Feng scoffed. Did you see that? He's really here. Yu Ru was surprised. She had secretly tried to comfort Zhang Juanrui earlier, thinking that he might really not be here. She did not expect her master to be right. He was really hiding inside. She shook her head in disappointment. As a martial artist, even if he was no match for Zhao Dave, he would still exchange a few blows with him. He would rather be injured than allow someone to insult him like that. Zhao Dave was not a martial arts master and he was a big shot. Ha ha! A burst of laughter suddenly rang out. Chu Li stepped through the main door and stood on the step. He laughed and said, Zhang Juanrui, you old tortoise, you've finally come out. Zhang Juanrui frowned and glared at him. Clan leader Zhao, why do you have to be so aggressive? You killed my subordinate. Are you the aggressive one or am I the aggressive one? Chu Li said, You're trying to frame the White Tiger sect, aren't you? What a good plan. Unfortunately, you've schemed against the wrong person. Without waiting for Zhang Juanrui to say anything, Chu Li took a step forward and threw a punch. Zhang Juanrui pressed his palm forward. His palm was as red as a piece of charcoal, and his palm energy was so hot that it seemed like it could roast a person. Bang! Zhang Juanrui took a step back while Chu Li stood still. The difference in their cultivation levels was obvious, and everyone was stunned. Zhang Juanrui was also a rare genius of the Flaming Sun Palm. He had been famous since he was young. His reputation had declined in recent years because he had become more reserved. His cultivation level had been increasing, and he was one of the top few in the Flaming Sun sect. He was over 80 years old while Zhao Dai was only 20. It was strange that he could not defeat Zhao Dai despite their difference in cultivation levels. Chu Li sneered. Is this all the Flaming Sun sect is capable of? Do you think you can surpass the White Tiger sect? He was secretly surprised. If he had not improved by leaps and bounds recently, he would not have been able to defeat Zhang Juanrui. The Divine Light Body was the foundation of the scripture of Great Light Scripture. The stronger the Divine Light Body, the faster he could cultivate the Divine Light Technique. Chu Li cultivated two scriptures at the same time and could multitask while maintaining a state of cultivation, so he improved very quickly. Zhang Juanrui's palm energy might be terrifying to others, but it was no different from ordinary inner energy when it came into contact with the Divine Light Body. It posed no threat to him. Zhang Juanrui suddenly exhaled, and a sun appeared on top of his head. It was like a real sun, and then it fell from his baihui to his lower abdomen. It was as if the sun was shining brightly in his lower abdomen. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. This was the real Flaming Sun Palm. Bang! When their palms met, Chu Li felt a scorching force entering his body. His palm and wrist were in intense pain as if they were being burned. Fortunately, the inner energy of the Divine Light Technique quickly offset its power. Chu Li frowned. The martial arts of the Flaming Sun sect were indeed unique. Bang 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 bang! Zhang Juanrui kept waving his palms, forcing Chu Li to fight back. Chu Li gathered his inner energy in his palms and fought back. The scorching force was neutralized by his inner energy and lost its power when it entered his meridians. Zhang Juanrui frowned when he saw that Chu Li's expression did not change. The power of the Flaming Sun Palm was shocking, but the Divine Light Body could restrain this kind of extreme palm energy and weaken its power. It seemed that this young man's Divine Light Body had reached a high level. The Flaming Sun Palm could not hurt him. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and looked bored. When will this fight end? As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Juanrui flew backward with a bang. Everyone was shocked. They did not know what technique he had used. Zhang Juanrui slammed into the wall and widened his eyes in disbelief. Light blade? Chu Li scoffed. Looks like you're prepared. You're wearing treasured armor. Cunning old fox. Zhang Juanrui lowered his head to look at his clothes. A knife mark was clearly visible. Through the cut, he could see the red shirt underneath. It was the Ardent Sun armor. Zhang Juanrui did not notice the flying blade, but he was stabbed. He could not help but recall a legend about the light blade. The faint pain in his chest also confirmed this legend. You've cultivated the light blade to the 9th level? Zhang Juanrui asked with a grim expression. Chu Li laughed. You're quite knowledgeable. Zhang Juanrui said, What a light blade. I admit defeat. Chu Li sized him up. You're admitting defeat so soon? I'm no match for you. There's no point in continuing the fight, Zhang Juanrui said. Chu Li laughed. You know your place. He glanced at the people around him and said in a domineering manner, the Radiance clan has never liked to cause trouble. However, if anyone dares to bully us, we won't hold back. Since my subordinate is still alive, I'll let this go. Otherwise, I'll destroy the Blazing Sun clan. Chapter 825. Baifeng glided away with Yu and returned to her room in the Phoenix Goddess brothel in no time. Yu asked in confusion, "Master, why did Elder Zhang admit defeat? He can't win. He has always been thick-skinned and knows when to yield." Baifeng waved her hand and said, "All right, you can go. You've only fought for a short while, but you already know that you can't defeat him?" Yu asked. Baifeng looked her up and down with a strange gaze. Then, she shook her head. He sighed inwardly. This was fate, and no one could change it. "Master?" Yu was annoyed. Baifeng sighed. "His light blade has reached the 9th level. It's better for him to admit defeat." "What's so special about the 9th level of the light blade?" Yu asked. "Use qi as a blade," Baifeng said. "It's the light blade's legendary state of injury. I didn't expect him to actually master it. He's indeed a genius." "Using energy as a blade," Yu asked. "What's so scary about that?" "It's all about speed," Baifeng said. "Even the eyes might not be able to avoid it." Yu nodded slowly. She also realized that Zhang Juanrui had already been sent flying before Zhao Dai drew his saber. Zhao Dai is considered invincible in Gale City. Baifeng shook her head and said, "The Radiance clan has already been built. I reckon that he won't be far from here." "Will young Master Zhao leave Gale City?" "He's a disciple of the Holy Church of Light. Naturally, he'll have to return after becoming an Inner Mountain disciple. This is just a training ground for him. At this point, the Radiance clan has gained a firm foothold. I don't think anyone will dare to mess around anymore. In less than a year, he'll participate in the competition and enter the Great Light Peak." Yu nodded gently. "Will the White Tiger sect send more powerful masters over?" "Only sect leader who of the White Tiger sect has the confidence to do so," Baifeng said calmly. "He won't make a move." Yu asked. "He should be able to defeat Master Zhao, right? Why didn't he attack?" "If he dares to come, the Bishop of the Holy Church of Light will also attack." Baifeng said, "The Bishop of the Holy Church of Light is an enlightened master. He's bound by the heavenly rules, so he can't attack as he pleases. If sect leader who dares to personally attack a disciple of the Holy Church of Light, he can intervene." Yu smiled and said, "In that case, young Master Zhao has successfully overcome his crisis." "Yes, I passed one round." Baifeng nodded and said, "However, the disciples of the Holy Church of Light have to go through stages after stages. Not many of them can make it to the last stage." Baifeng glanced at her. "All right, you can go now." Yu curtsied and left. Baifeng shook her head helplessly. Night had fallen in Gale City, and the stars and moon did not shine. Chu Li stayed in his courtyard for a while before disappearing in a flash and reappearing at the Tianshu courtyard in the imperial residence of King An. The Tianshu courtyard was brightly lit as if it was daytime, eclipsing the bright moon. Shao Qi was practicing her swordsmanship. She was dressed in a snow-white outfit. Her cold sword moved slowly, sprinkling bright sword rays. Xiao Shi was dressed in a light pink gown as she sat by the stone table. Her bare hands were strumming the strings of the guzheng. The sound of the guzheng was sometimes high and sometimes low, matching with the force of the sword. Suddenly, Chu Li appeared in front of Shao Qi. Shao Qi's sword force surged and engulfed him. Chu Li flicked his finger. Ding! The long sword swung away. Ding ding! The long sword was hit twice more and finally flew out of his hand, spinning in the air. Chu Li waved his hand and the long sword fell into his hand. He smiled and passed it to Shao Qi. "My lady, good swordsmanship." Shao Qi glanced at him. "You're praising yourself, aren't you?" Chu Li chuckled. The sound of the guzheng stopped abruptly. Shao Shi asked, It's rare for you to come back at night. Are you worried about this place? Chu sat by the stone table. Things have settled down there, so I can come back to take a look. You're going to enter the Great Light Peak soon? Xiao Shi was surprised. Chu said, There's still half a year left. The situation has been set. That'll be more dangerous, Xiao Shi said. Chu nodded. Oh right, let me tell you something interesting, Xiao Shi said. The martial arts world of the Ji dynasty has been quite lively lately. Chu looked at Xiao Qi. Xiao Qi came to the stone table and sat down. A faint fragrance drifted into his nose. Xiao Shi said, Let me tell you about it. Xiao Qi said, Feng Huang Mountain has a genius young lady with extraordinary martial arts skills. She's defeated all the masters from Feng Huang Mountain and Green Hill. She'll probably challenge Snow Lunar Pavilion soon. Chu asked, What kind of genius? She's mastered Feng Huang Mountain's most difficult technique, Ninth Heaven Phoenix Flight Technique. It's a mystical technique that no one has mastered for hundreds of years. She defeated all the masters from Feng Huang Mountain and became the #1 master of Feng Huang Mountain. She's also challenging Green Hill, and no one can defeat her. She's in the limelight now, Xiao Qi said. Chu frowned. Ninth Heaven Phoenix Flight, Xiao Qi said. It's said that it's a mystical technique created by the ancestors of Feng Huang Mountain. She's incredibly fast and her inner energy is like fire. No martial arts in the world can stop her. Since the founding master, no one has mastered it. However, she did. Everyone in Feng Huang Mountain thinks that she's the reincarnation of the founding master. I'd like to see it if there's a chance, Chu said. Xiao Qi said, You're no match for her. Chu smiled. Why do you say that? You're only the youth champion. Xiao Qi said, I think Feng Shui is the strongest master below the enlightened masters. Chu frowned. Is she that powerful? Ninth Heaven Phoenix Flight is extremely powerful. Xiao Qi said, She appeared out of nowhere and now, her reputation has surpassed yours. Chu nodded. That's a good thing. I don't want to attract too much attention. Xiao Qi said, I heard that she went to Snow Lunar Pavilion for the White Shroud Xindao. Chu smiled bitterly. She really thinks highly of me. If you don't accept the challenge, Xiao Qi said, does it mean that you're afraid of her and want to test her skills? Chu shook his head. Forget it. Now that your cultivation level has increased, why don't you accept the challenge? Xiao Qi asked. Chu said, I can't split myself up. Besides, I'll just let her have the fame. Are you really willing? Xiao Qi's bright eyes were cold as she stared at him. Chu smiled. I'll look for her in the future if I have the chance. Feng Shui. Xiao Shi chuckled. You're really a woman. You defeated Green Hill in one go. If this goes on, the few first-rate sects will be helpless. Then, it'll be the 4 major sections. Chu said, I guess she won't be able to suppress the 4 major sections. He now had a better understanding of the 4 major sections. For example, even though he had killed 5 elders of White Tiger sect, he still did not dare to underestimate them. Tan Jin and the others were around 100 years old and grandmasters had a lifespan of around 300 years. Where were the 200-year-old masters? What about the 300-year-old ones? These old fellows had been living in seclusion to pursue a higher boundary. To them, worldly disputes were not worth mentioning and were not worth fighting. They were like children playing house. They would only fight when the sect's safety was at stake. They could communicate normally. When they talked about the martial arts world, they vaguely felt like they had when they first entered the High Duke's public house. Back then, they were not familiar with each other, but they already had a tacit understanding. When it was late at night, Chu said goodbye to them and returned to Gale City. Chu left his courtyard and went to Phoenix Goddess Brothel. Chapter 8:26. Chu returned to his room and prepared to continue his cultivation. Not long after he sat down, He raised his eyebrows and saw Lu Xiaofeng in one of the rooms on the second floor. Lu Xiaofeng's cultivation level had improved greatly and his aura was like a raging flame. It was obvious that his isolated cultivation had been successful. Chu Li did not expect him to improve so much in just 2 days and even surpass his master, Zhang Juanrui. Lu Xiaofeng was considered a genius. Perhaps his potential had been stimulated by Chu Li and he had advanced several levels in just a few days. Chu Li was curious, so he went to one of the rooms downstairs and asked the servant to serve Yu Ru. Yu Ru was in Lu Xiaofeng's room. She was talking softly and the sound of bamboo flutes could be heard. "Congratulations, young Master Lu." Yu Ru raised her silver cup and smiled. "You've improved greatly in your martial arts." Lu Xiaofeng was in high spirit. He smiled and said, "I had an epiphany and managed to reach this level in one go. I'm surprised that I'm one level higher than Master." "The student has surpassed the Master." Yu Ru smiled. "Elder Zhang must be very happy." "Master is very happy." Lu Xiaofeng smiled. "But he told me not to come here. I came here secretly." Yu Ru was surprised. "Why not?" Lu Xiaofeng scoffed. "He said that I can't afford to offend Zhao Dai. Even at this level, I'm still no match for him." He said this indignantly, but he did not doubt his master's judgment. If his master said that he was no match for Zhao Dai, then he was not. There was no need to try. "Elder Zhang has misunderstood young Master Zhao." Yu Ru smiled. "He won't cause trouble. Last time, Elder Zhang brought his men to ambush young Master Zhao's subordinate. He probably did it to avenge you, young Master Lu." Lu Xiaofeng nodded. "Master treats me like a son." His expression darkened. When he thought about how Zhao Dai had humiliated his master and the Blazing Sun clan, he felt a surge of anger and killing intent. Elder Zhang almost killed young Master Zhao's subordinate, so young Master Zhao was furious and rushed to the Blazing Sun clan. Yu Ru shook her head. "It's hard to say who's right and who's wrong. Elder Zhang didn't do anything wrong by avenging you. Young Master Zhao did the same for his subordinate. In the end, it's all my fault." Lu Xiaofeng smiled bitterly. Yu Ru said, "Actually, there's no need for young Master Lu to deliberately compare himself to young Master Zhao. You're you, so there's no need to care about others." Lu Xiaofeng shook his head and said, "Miss Yu Ru, you don't understand men. As the saying goes, there's no second best in the martial arts world. Of course, a man has to be the strongest in order to live his life in peace." Yu Ru smiled gently and stopped trying to persuade him. There was a knock on the door. Yu Ru called out, "Come in." The servant stood outside the door and said hesitantly, "Miss Yu Ru, I have something to report." "Okay." Yu Ru stood up and gracefully approached him. The servant glanced at Lu Xiaofeng and said in a low voice, "Young Master Zhao is here. He's at the Green Bamboo House." "All right, I understand." Yu Ru nodded and waved her hand. "Don't disturb him." The servant quietly retreated. Lu Xiaofeng's handsome face darkened. His cultivation was profound and his hearing was sharp, so of course he could hear. He did not expect to bump into Zhao Dai so coincidentally. He could no longer suppress the anger that he had been suppressing in his chest. He wanted nothing more than to rush over. Yu Ru noticed his expression and knew that he had heard her. She sighed and said, "Young Master Lu, are you going over?" Lu Xiaofeng stared at her coldly. Yu Ru said awkwardly, "Young Master Zhao is my benefactor after all. I can't ignore him." "Then I can be ignored." Lu Xiaofeng nodded. "Forget it. Go ahead. I'll go and greet him." "I'll be right back," Yu Ru said hurriedly. "There's no need for that." Lu Xiaofeng waved his hand and said dispiritedly, "You should go and accompany young Master Zhao. He's the most powerful person in Gale City now. How can you ignore him? You should spend some time with him." Yu Ru frowned at Lu Xiaofeng. Lu Xiaofeng smiled at her. "If I were you, I'd go and accompany him first." Yu Ru said, Young Master Lu, what are you thinking? Lu Xiaofeng scoffed. Did I say something wrong? Yu Ru scoffed. Should I not even greet him when he's here? Lu Xiaofeng nodded. Of course you should greet him. Not only that, but you should also keep him company and welcome him with a smile. Yu Ru's pretty face tensed up and she glared at him unhappily. Lu Xiaofeng gave a fist salute and said, Miss Yu Ru, I'll take my leave now. I don't want to make things difficult for you. Stop right there. Yu Ru scoffed. Lu Xiaofeng stared at her. Yu Ru stomped her foot and said, I won't go there. Lu Xiaofeng was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. Really? Yu Ru scoffed. I'll apologize to young Master Zhao in the future. I won't go and greet him tonight. Lu Xiaofeng chuckled. That's great. Miss Yu Ru, come, let me toast you. Yu Ru forced a smile and raised her silver cup. The music was still playing, but Yu Ru felt that it was piercing to her ears and she could not sit still. Chu Li sat in the room and smiled as he held the silver cup. How interesting! However, he suddenly felt relieved. He had finally severed his ties with Shao Qi and could do things freely. He was also filled with emotions. Most people still valued their looks, and he was the same. He could not blame others. If Shao Qi was not so beautiful and was an ugly woman, would he still fall in love with her? It was obviously impossible. Lu Xiaofeng was tactful. He could tell that Yu Ru was not in a good mood, so he left early. Yu Ru hurried to the green bamboo residence where Chu Li stayed, but there was no one there. Only the untouched food was left on the table. She stared blankly and suddenly felt a sense of loss. Small light peak Chu Li sat in the thatched cottage and cultivated. The wind was howling outside, but it was as warm as spring inside the cottage. Li Ruolan's clothes fluttered in the wind as she arrived outside the cottage. When she pushed the door open, she saw Chu Li sitting on the bed and looked at him in surprise. Chu Li opened his eyes and smiled. Miss Ruolan, when did you come back? Li Ruolan was surprised. She was dressed in a purple gown, which made her skin look as fair as snow. She looked charming and delicate. Chu Li replied, last night. Did you run into some trouble again? No, I just missed you, Miss Ruolan, so I came to see if I could meet you. Li Ruolan blushed and rolled her eyes at him. Be serious. I'm serious, Chu Li said seriously. Li Ruolan asked nonchalantly, Has Gale City gained a firm foothold? Chu Li looked proud. I'm invincible in Gale City now. White Tiger Sect and Flaming Sun Sect are well behaved, Tian Luo Sect won't cause any trouble, and Radiance Clan is open for business. I don't have to be around anymore, so I came back to cultivate. You've done well, Li Ruolan praised. Chu Li smiled. If I'm going to do something, I'll do my best. Li Ruolan rolled her eyes at him. But you can't be careless. After all, you've only been cultivating for a short period of time. Many of the participants in the martial arts competition have cultivated for more than 10 years. They're all geniuses, so you might not be able to defeat them. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. If they're geniuses, why have they cultivated for more than 10 years? There was a competition every 5 years. If one had cultivated for 10 years, he would have missed it twice. How could he be considered a genius if he failed to enter the Great Light Peak twice? Li Ruolan shook her head. Some people are good at cultivating, but they're not good at doing things. They don't have enough credit, so they're not qualified to participate in the martial arts competition. Some do it on purpose. Is there anyone who's stronger than me? Chu Li asked. Chapter 8:27. Chu Li asked, How many are there? 4. That's great. It's good that you're in the top 5 since it's 5 places to enter the mountain. Different rankings mean different statuses in the mountain, Li Ruolan said. Otherwise, why would everyone fight for it? Chu Li was curious. What's the difference? The first place will stay at the peak, just like where you are now, Li Ruolan said. The 5th place will stay at the foot of the mountain. What else? The tasks assigned after entering the mountain will be different too. The first place will go to the Sutra Library, while the fifth place will go to the Spirit Fields. The Spirit Fields aren't bad too. The Spirit Fields are the hardest. Li Ruolin shook her head. There's a limit to how many spirit herbs there are in the field. If there's a problem, you'll be held responsible. Most spirit herbs are delicate, so it's easy for them to go wrong. You'll be worried every day. I'm good at growing flowers. Chu quickly said, I used to grow flowers in Peacetown. Do you think the flowers you grow are the same as spirit herbs? Li Ruolin scoffed. They're not the same thing. Spirit herbs are 100 times more delicate than your flowers. There's always a problem. In short, not only will your experience not be beneficial, it'll be more harmful. So the first place can read all the books in the Sutra Library? Chu asked. Of course. Li Ruolin nodded. There's the cultivation experience of our ancestors, which is very beneficial to cultivation. There are also countless unique skills. As long as you're not afraid of wasting your time, you can cultivate as much as you want. Chu had a yearning look on his face. Li Ruolin said, if there's no such benefit, why would everyone want to be the first place? Some of them even delay it on purpose. Chu raised his eyebrows. Li Ruolin continued, some of them have cultivated for more than 10 years because they're not good at worldly affairs. Some of them have the ambition to be the first place. These people are persistent and hard-working. Their cultivation level will definitely surpass yours. Chu smiled. I have the light blade. The light blade isn't invincible. Li Ruolin said, what if someone hits you before you can use the light blade? Your cultivation level is lower than theirs. Won't you be defeated in an instant? I see. Chu nodded slowly. All right, I'll start isolated cultivation today. Going into closed-door cultivation again? Li Ruolin asked with a smile. Chu said, I want to get first place too. You haven't settled the matters in Gale City. Li Ruolin said, the Radiance clan hasn't been built yet. You'll only be able to return and undergo isolated cultivation after it's built and officially opened. How troublesome. Chu shook his head. Li Ruolin said, these are the rules. Otherwise, everyone will be dissatisfied and it will be difficult to convince the masses. Alright, so I can only stay at Small Light Peak for 3 days? Yes, I can only stay for 3 days. Then let me meditate for 3 days first. I'll come and greet you. Li Ruolin smiled and said, you'll have to reopen the Radiance clan before you can come back. You can't keep coming back. I know. Chu scoffed and closed his eyes. Li Ruolin smiled and left. Once Chu returned to Gale City, he went into isolated cultivation and left all the trivial matters to Ko Cheong and the other two. The Radiance clan's construction speed was very fast. They had also hired a group of people to work day and night. It would be completed in a month's time. Chu felt pressured to fight for first place. His opponents were people who had cultivated for 10 years. They were also geniuses. Based on his cultivation speed, he would have to go into isolated cultivation if he wanted to achieve 10 years of cultivation. One morning, he woke up from his meditation and stretched his body. He decided to go out for a walk. It would be inefficient to be so tense all the time. It would be faster to cultivate after relaxing and meditating. The Phoenix Goddess Brothel was supposed to be the best place to relax, but it was morning and the Phoenix Goddess Brothel was closed. Chu went to the biggest restaurant in the city alone, 9-Star Tower. 9-Star Tower was located in the center of Gale City. It was towering as if it was connected to outer heaven. 9-Star Tower was very lively in the morning. The citizens who had the time and money often came here for breakfast. They chatted as they ate to start their day. The window seat on the 3rd floor was already empty. He found a random seat and sat down. Then, he listened to the messy conversations of the people around him, wanting to listen to the gossip in the city. If the Radiance clan is built, the city will be divided into 4 parts. What do you mean by 4 parts? The Radiance clan will definitely dominate. Zhao Dai is so powerful that the other 3 clans can't even breathe. I heard that Zhao Dai is very ugly. Is that true? Yes, very ugly. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Not many people have seen Zhao Dai. He's quite a mysterious person. I heard that although he's ugly, he's a lecher. He's always pestering Miss Yu of the Phoenix Goddess Brothel. Which man isn't lecherous? Especially someone like him. With his status, what woman can't he get? Miss Yu isn't an ordinary lady. She's the young brothel leader of the Phoenix Goddess Brothel. Not every man can get her. I heard that Miss Yu likes the deputy clan leader of the Blazing Sun clan. He's also a big shot. Chu Li frowned and shook his head. He did not expect news of this to spread so quickly. He had become a laughing stock. The deputy clan leader of the Blazing Sun clan is Lu Xiaofeng. He's extremely handsome. His appearance is 10 times better than Zhao Dai's. His martial arts skills aren't inferior to Zhao Dai's either. Of course Miss Yu would choose him. It's an advantage to have a good appearance. If I had a good appearance, girls would have pounced on me when I entered a brothel. I wouldn't even have to spend money. Elder son, you should wait until your next life. Haha, Chu Li listened thoughtfully. He vaguely sensed that there was a conspiracy going on. The person who spread the news was up to no good. He had plotted against the 3 clans. Could it be the White Tiger sect? He took a sip of wine and picked up a piece of beef to chew slowly. Who's Zhao Dai? Suddenly, a clear voice rang out. Chu Li turned his head and saw a slender and beautiful young lady standing at the staircase of the 3rd floor. She was wearing an apricot gown. Her eyes were bright and her facial features were exquisite. She pointed at Chu Li and raised her voice. Are you Zhao Dai? Chu Li looked to his left and right. Everyone followed the young lady's finger and saw Chu Li. Who's Zhao Dai? Chu Li quickly asked. The beautiful young lady approached him with light steps. She carried a faint fragrance with her. You're Zhao Dai. Why won't you admit it? The expressions of the people around Chu Li changed slightly. They felt uneasy. They had been bad-mouthing Zhao Dai earlier. He must have overheard them. They wondered if he would settle the score with them. Rumor had it that Zhao Dai was extremely domineering and overbearing. Chu Li asked, What brings you here, young lady? I'm here to challenge you. The beautiful young lady stared at him. Do you dare to accept my challenge? Chu Li scoffed and his expression darkened. I have to accept anyone's challenge. Won't I die of exhaustion? Chapter 828. Everyone was shocked. White Tiger Sect. They whispered. The current White Tiger Sect was no longer the White Tiger Sect of the past. Zhao Dai had killed 5 of the 8 Grand Elders, and the sect's prestige had been completely ruined. Even though they still had their strength, they were like a starving tiger, thin tiger, and sick tiger, so their deterrent force was not as strong as before. Chu Li frowned and looked at her. You're from White Tiger Sect? That's right. Yang Ying scoffed. I heard that you're very powerful. I'm here to learn from you. Your cultivation level is too low. Forget it. Chu Li shook his head. Yang Ying shouted in dissatisfaction. Nonsense, how is my cultivation level bad? Chu Li smiled and took a sip of his wine. Chu Li's disdain was obvious. Yang Ying shouted angrily, Zhao Dai, don't look down on me. Chu Li shook his head. I won't fight anyone. Please leave. Take this. Yang Ying leaped up as light as a swallow. Her small fist appeared in front of Chu Li in the blink of an eye. She was extremely fast. Chu Li dodged sideways. Yang Ying opened her fist into a palm and slashed at his neck like a long knife. Chu Li dodged sideways again. Yang Ying opened her palm into a fist and punched down. Chu Li dodged sideways again. Bang! Her delicate fist hit the table. Crash! The square table instantly turned into a pile of debris and mixed with the plate. Chu was not wet at all. He shook his head and said, "You're too careless, Miss Yang. You'll pay for the damage of this table. Goodbye." He glided out of the window and landed on the roof on the opposite street. He tapped his body a few times and completely disappeared from everyone's sight. Yang Ying leaned against the window and watched as Chu glided away like a white crane. She stomped her feet angrily and took out an ingot of silver from her inner pocket. She tossed it to the shopkeeper, who was rushing over, and said angrily, "Is that enough?" It's enough." The shopkeeper nodded hurriedly. 9-Star Tower's backer was Roaring Tiger Clan, and Roaring Tiger Clan's backer was White Tiger Sect. In other words, they were family. Yang Ying turned around and glided out of the window. Everyone immediately began to discuss spiritedly, praising this beautiful lady's courage and undesirable conduct. Zhao Dai was a person who had killed 5 elders of the White Tiger Sect. Was a mere disciple trying to court death by challenging him? Fortunately, the lady was beautiful and Zhao Dai was a man. Hence, he was not cruel to her. Could this be the White Tiger Sect's wishful thinking? If a man couldn't defeat a man, they would send a woman to seduce him. Even if they couldn't defeat him, they would still recruit him to the White Tiger Sect and make him their son-in-law? This was wishful thinking. The White Tiger Sect was indeed worthy of its name. The crowd was full of praises for the White Tiger Sect's brilliant move. The White Tiger Sect had turned their original enemy into an ally without shedding any blood. From now on, the White Tiger Sect would still be the White Tiger Sect, and they would still be able to suppress the Flaming Sun Sect. Chu glided back to his courtyard, shaking his head and laughing to himself. Chu had read Yang Ying's mind. She did not have any ulterior motives. She only had one thought, which was to defeat him and make the White Tiger Sect famous. She was an innocent girl, so Chu could not bear to hurt her, so he avoided her. Yang Ying's footsteps were light as if she was riding the wind. However, no matter how fast her body movement technique was, she could not catch up to Chu. She disappeared in the blink of an eye. She stood on the roof of the house and pondered for a moment. Then, she went straight to the Radiance Clan and saw that the Radiance Clan was being built in full swing. There were people coming and going, and it was very lively. She raised her voice and shouted, "Hey, which one of you is from the Radiance Clan?" Her voice was crisp but clear. With the help of her inner energy, it resounded in everyone's ears. Everyone turned to look at her. When they saw her beauty, some of them were in awe, some of them were greedy, and some of them were passionate. She was shocked. Then, she calmed herself down and gathered her energy. She glared back at them and shouted, "Which one of you is from the Radiance Clan?" Feng Wuji waved his hand. "I'm from the Radiance Clan. Who are you, young lady?" "I'm Yang Ying, an official disciple of the White Tiger Sect." Yang Ying shouted, "I'm here to settle the score with the people from the Radiance Clan. Come here." Feng Wuji could not help but laugh. A disciple of the White Tiger Sect dares to come to Gale City? He took 2 steps forward and shook his head. "Young lady, you're still young. Why do you have to take things so hard? Yum? Clothes? Yuan Ning Bai Mu?" A handsome young man knocking on the door. Feng Wuji shook his head. "Young lady, why are you looking for me?" "I want to defeat him," Yang Ying said. Feng Wuji said, "I don't know where the clan leader is either. If you don't tell me, I'll defeat you and make you tell me." Yang Ying scoffed. Feng Wuji said, "I won't tell you even if you kill me." Stubborn. Yang Ying scoffed. "Watch my fist." She clenched her small fist and threw it at him. Her fist was white as if it was carved from white jade. It was delicate and cute. Feng Wuji reached out and met it with his palm. Bang! Yang Ying stood her ground, but Feng Wuji was sent flying backward as if there was a rope pulling him from behind. He felt a huge force coming from his palm. It was so abundant that he could not resist it. His body flew up involuntarily. He widened his eyes in the air. He knew that he had misjudged her. This elegant girl was actually born with divine strength, and the power of this punch was also astonishing. A pure sharp chi came from her palm, drilling into her body and wreaking havoc. He quickly used his inner energy to block it. Faced with this small but sharp inner energy, he felt like he was using a piece of cloth to block a needle. He was powerless. He could only watch as it entered his dantian. It was like being pricked by a needle. His dantian was instantly injured. With his dantian injured, his inner energy could not continue and became chaotic. Pfft! He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at her in disbelief. Yang Ying raised her fist and stood on the same spot. She puffed up her chest and looked at him proudly. How is it? Do you know how powerful I am now? You. Feng Wuji wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and asked with a bitter smile. Yang Ying glanced at the dumbfounded people around her and proudly scoffed. Black tiger heart hollowing fist! What a great black tiger heart hollowing fist! Feng Wuji smiled bitterly and gave a fist salute. I admit defeat. Even if he had not been careless, he would not have been able to parry this punch. He would still have been defeated. If he was not as skilled as his opponent, it would only be beneficial for him to admit defeat early. Useless. Yang Ying curled her cherry lips and turned to glare at the crowd. Is there anyone else from the Radiance clan who doesn't agree? I'll do it. Lu Shu swaggered through the crowd and arrived in front of Feng Wuji. Old Feng, you're too useless. Did you go to look for a lady last night? Feng Wuji smiled bitterly. This black tiger heart hollowing fist is really powerful. You're no match for it. Hee hee. Lu Shu waved his fat hand and smiled. If we can't even defeat such a delicate and weak lady, isn't there no one in the Radiance clan? Sigh. Feng Wuji shook his head. Yang Ying scoffed. Let's make this clear. If I defeat you, you have to tell me where Zhao Dai is. No problem. Lu Shu nodded happily. If you can defeat me, I'll tell you the clan leader's whereabouts. All right. Yang Ying scoffed. You're not allowed to go back on your words. Chapter 829. Take this. Yang Ying gracefully slid in front of Lu Shu and threw a punch. Lu Shu countered with his right palm. Just as he was about to collide with the fist force, he suddenly swung his palm. Instead of colliding head-on with the fist force, his palm force was diverted away. Yang Ying curled her cherry lips in disdain. She did not care about his move. Bang! Yang Ying's small fist collided with his right palm. Lu Shu was shocked. He had received Feng Wuji's warning and knew that her fist force was strange. He did not intend to take it head-on and instead wanted to test the waters before finding a solution. However, he did not expect her fist force to be so pure that it did not match her age. It could not be diverted away and eventually landed on him. A huge force surged from her small fist and he flew backward involuntarily. An incomparably pure and minute inner force entered his palm and pierced through his meridians towards his dantian at an extremely fast speed. It was like a needle moving swiftly, and all of his attempts to block it were useless. His dantian was heavily injured, and his inner force was once again scattered and did not listen to his commands. Pfft! He spat out a mouthful of blood in the air and staggered to the ground, almost crashing into Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji quickly reached out to support him and said helplessly, How is it, Elder Lu? Lu Shu's small eyes widened in surprise. He said in surprise, Miss, your black tiger heart hollowing fist is quite powerful. You've lost, haven't you? Yang Ying scoffed. How can a martial art not be powerful? Tell me, where is he? Cough cough. Lu Shu coughed twice. Yang Ying scoffed. Are you going back on your word? Are you trying to act shamelessly? The people from the Radiance clan are too much. Of course not. Lu Shu shook his head. I'll tell you now. Hurry up and tell me, Yang Ying said excitedly. I'll teach him a lesson after I'm done with all of you. Let's see if the Radiance clan has the cheek to open a hall. It's easy to find our clan leader. You can find him at the Phoenix Goddess Brothel. Lu Shu smiled. However, it's daytime now and the Phoenix Goddess Brothel isn't open for business. You can go there at night and you'll definitely find our clan leader. Really? Yang Ying quickly asked. Lu Shu smiled. You can ask around in Gale City. Everyone knows that the clan leader likes Miss Yu and he's always with her. All right. Yang Ying scoffed and pouted her cherry lip. What a pervert! Lu Shu replied, You're wrong. My clan leader doesn't fall in love with every woman he sees. He only likes Miss Yu. Are you saying that he's a pervert just because he likes women? In any case, he's not a good guy. Yang Ying scoffed and glared at them with her bright eyes. I'll let you go this time. Is there anyone else from the Radiance clan? There's one more. Lu Shu smiled and said, But he's recuperating. Yang Ying said, You people from the Radiance clan are useless. You're not fit to open a clan. She snorted arrogantly and turned to leave. If a man scolded them like this, they would definitely be angry and want to fight with him. She scolded them in such a delicate voice, but not only did they not get angry, they even thought it was funny and laughed a few times. Yang Ying fluttered away and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Feng Wuji shook his head and said, If what you said today reaches the Hall Master's ears, I'm afraid he won't spare you. What is it? Lu Shu asked. It's about Miss Yu. Feng Wuji scoffed. Lu Shu smiled and said, Why can't I say it? The Hall Master is an open and above-board person. He's not afraid of others talking about him. Feng Wuji shook his head and said, You're really blind. Can't you tell that the Hall Master hasn't been going to the Phoenix Goddess Brothel recently? What does that mean? The rumors are probably true. Miss Yu has really fallen in love with someone else. Lu Shu smiled and waved his hand. That's impossible. The Hall Master is the #1 person in Gale City. No one can compare to him. Do you think that women are only interested in martial arts? Feng Wuji shook his head and said, The Hall Master's martial arts are good, but he's not as good-looking. Women like beautiful men, not ugly ones. Lu Shu thought about it and shook his head with a sigh. Then there's nothing we can do. No one is perfect. The Hall Master's appearance is really not outstanding enough. That's why you should shut up. Feng Wuji scoffed. Lu Shu slapped his own lips. Look at my stupid mouth. The night was hazy and the moonlight was like water. The Phoenix Goddess Brothel was brightly lit and the sound of stringed instruments lingered in the air like a heavenly palace. A handsome young master stepped into the Phoenix Goddess Brothel and scoffed at the servant. I'm looking for Miss Yu. I'm really sorry, young master, but Miss Yu has a guest. The servant smiled apologetically. I'm afraid that she won't have time tonight. Why don't you look for another lady first? Yang Ying from the White Tiger sect. Inform her. The handsome young master grabbed the servant. Go now. Please wait for a moment, young master. I'll be right there. When the servant heard the name of the White Tiger sect, he knew that he could not afford to neglect it. He quickly ran upstairs to report to the young master. He returned quickly and smiled. Please follow me. Miss Yu is waiting for you, young master. Yang Ying scoffed and followed him to a room on the 2nd floor. As soon as he stepped into the room, Yu and Lu Xiaofeng stood up and sized him up. Yu was dressed in a light pink gown while Lu Xiaofeng was dressed in a green gown. When they stood together, they looked like a perfect couple. Both of them had sharp eyes and could immediately tell that Yu was a woman disguised as a man. Miss, why are you looking for me? Yu was surprised. Yang Ying from the White Tiger sect. Yang Ying scoffed. I'm here to look for Zhao Dave. I heard that he's been with you all this time. Yu looked a little embarrassed and shook her head. Young Master Zhao hasn't been here for a while. Miss Yang, the news you heard was a long time ago. A disciple of the White Tiger sect? Lu Xiaofeng shook his head. Why haven't I seen you before? Yang Ying asked. Are you a disciple of the White Tiger sect too? I'm Lu Xiaofeng from the Flaming Sun sect. I'm the deputy clan leader of the Blazing Sun clan. Lu Xiaofeng gave a fist salute. Yang Ying nodded. Zhao Dave from the Flaming Sun sect isn't coming here anymore? He's not coming anymore. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. Maybe he's disheartened and stopped bothering you, Miss Yu. Why are you looking for Zhao Dave? Of course it's for revenge. Yang Ying scoffed. I'm an official disciple of the White Tiger sect. I want to defeat him to avenge myself. I'm afraid you're no match for Zhao Dave. Lu Xiaofeng shook his head. Yang Ying said, You won't know until you fight him. Lu Xiaofeng shook his head. Do you really think you can defeat an elder of your sect? Of course. Yang Ying nodded. Lu Xiaofeng was stunned. Yang Ying scoffed. Can you defeat Zhao Dave? Lu Xiaofeng shook his head slowly. I'm no match for him. He's known as the #1 master in Gale City, and he lives up to his name. Humph, #1 master? He's a coward who doesn't dare to fight me. Yang Ying pouted. He runs away the moment he sees me. Maybe he's afraid of your beauty. Lu Xiaofeng laughed. Yang Ying glared at him unhappily and said helplessly, His subordinates are really bad. How dare they lie to me? I'll teach them a lesson tomorrow. Miss, I know where Zhao Dave lives. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. Yang Ying's eyes lit up. Really? Tell me then. But you're no match for him. I'm afraid you'll humiliate yourself, Lu Xiaofeng said. He's no match for me. Yang Ying scoffed. All right, he lives on Square Well Street, Lu Xiaofeng said. I heard it's heavily guarded. Chapter 830. Yang Ying turned to look at Yu and sized her up. Yu felt a little awkward and smiled. Miss Yang, did I do something wrong? Nothing. Yang Ying shook her head. I just wanted to see what kind of girl Zhao Dave likes. You're really beautiful. No wonder he likes you. All right, I'm leaving. She turned to leave after she finished speaking. Yu quickly said, Wait. Yang Ying turned to look at her. Miss Yang, did you come here on the orders of the White Tiger sect's elders? Yu asked with a smile. Yang Ying curled her lips and said, I snuck out, they don't know. They make me practice martial arts all day and don't let me go down the mountain. This time I really can't help it. I must teach them a lesson myself. Miss, are you going to kill him? I'm afraid I won't be able to kill him, Yang Ying said. I just need to defeat him. She had never met the elders before and had no feelings for them. Moreover, she had never killed anyone before. She just wanted to defeat Zhao Dave. Yu nodded. That's good. Be careful, Mississippi. All right, I'm leaving. Yang Ying waved her hand and left the house. Lu Xiaofeng scoffed. Why are you worried about Zhao Dave? Yu shook her head and smiled. I'm just curious as to why she dared to challenge him. A newborn calf isn't afraid of a tiger. Lu Xiaofeng scoffed. She wants to challenge Zhao Dave? What a joke. What's so funny about it? Yang Ying's voice suddenly rang out. She stood in the house and glared at Lu Xiaofeng. You're talking bad about people behind their back. You're really despicable. Take this. As soon as she finished speaking, she threw a punch. The fair, delicate, and adorable little fist smashed into Lu Xiaofeng's palm. Lu Xiaofeng was sent flying and crashed into the landscape painting screen. His body was pressed against the screen, causing it to shatter into pieces. Lu Xiaofeng widened his eyes in shock. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Yang Ying pouted. How dare you criticize me when you're like this? Lu Xiaofeng was embarrassed and annoyed, especially when he was in front of Yu. He could not care less about the difference between a man and a woman. He scoffed angrily. What's so great about a sneak attack? Take this. He flipped over and leaped into the air. His right palm was as red as blood, and he pushed it out fiercely. His scorching palm energy was like boiling water as it crashed into Yang Ying. Yang Ying's fair fist came smashing over again. Bang! Lu Xiaofeng was sent flying again. Yang Ying scoffed, "You're just a mediocre kung fu, what are you talking about?" Lu Xiaofeng spat out another mouthful of blood and stared at Yang Ying in shock. When he saw Yang Ying's delicate appearance and her innocent personality, in addition to her young age, he subconsciously looked down on her. He knew that she was a strong opponent who was born with divine strength and had extremely pure inner energy. In the second exchange, he went all out and circulated his inner energy to the extreme. In the end, she still lost. Moreover, looking at Yang Ying's appearance, she did not even use her full strength. Although he was defeated by Chu Li, not only was he not discouraged, but he was also full of fighting spirit. However, now that he had been defeated by Yang Ying, he was somewhat disheartened. He was a genius in vain, yet he could not even defeat a woman who was younger than him. Yang Ying waved her hand and said, "You're not allowed to badmouth others behind their backs in the future." With that, she turned around to leave. Lu Xiaofeng shouted angrily, "Again?" Yang Ying turned her head and glared at him. "Again? You're really shameless, you've lost twice." "This is the last time." Lu Xiaofeng scoffed. "All right," Yang Ying said, "hurry up, I still have to look for Zhao Dave." Lu Xiaofeng slowly exhaled. This exhalation was extremely long, as if all his internal organs were being exhaled in one breath. A scorching sun suddenly appeared 3 feet above his head, faintly like a shadow, like the reflection of the scorching sun in the lake. It was still so dazzling that one did not dare to look at it directly. The scorching sun suddenly descended, then entered his baihui, straight to his dantian. Yang Ying quietly looked at him until he was done, then she watched helplessly as he pushed out his palm. Wherever the palm energy went, it was as if light and shadow were distorted, the heat of the palm energy could be seen clearly. Yang Ying curled her red lips, and her small white fist struck again, hitting Lu Xiaofeng's palm. Bang! Lu Xiaofeng flew out like a rubber ball, crashing into the wall, shaking the wall so much that dust fell. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Yang Ying blew on her fist, causing a scorching aura to surround it, but it was quickly extinguished by her inner energy. "You're quite capable." She looked at Lu Xiaofeng and scoffed. "Practice for a few more years." After that, she did not say anything else and strode away. Lu Xiaofeng spat out another mouthful of blood. Yu Ru looked at him sympathetically and could not help but ask, "Young Master Lu, are you all right?" Lu Xiaofeng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I've lost today." "She should be an esoteric disciple of the White Tiger sect," Yu Ru said. "She's a well-trained master, so it's not a big deal even if she can't defeat her." Sigh. Lu Xiaofeng shook his head dejectedly. Yu Ru asked, "Can she defeat Zhao Dave?" "It's not necessarily impossible." Lu Xiaofeng suddenly laughed. "Zhao Dave must think that she's young and weak, so there's nothing special about her. She'll definitely lose, ha." When he thought of this, he suddenly felt better and no longer blamed himself. After all, he was indeed not as skilled as her and his opponent was from the White Tiger sect, so it was not a shame that he lost. Yu Ru sighed in relief when she saw that he had regained his spirits. She smiled and said, "Young Master Zhao won't be careless." She secretly shook her head. Everyone, including Lu Xiaofeng, was bullied by Zhao Dai's appearance and thought that he was arrogant and conceited. Although he had the strength to back it up, they still thought that he was stupid. Only Yu Ru and her master knew that Zhao Dai was a sly person who hid it from the world. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. "Let's wait and see." He felt slightly uncomfortable. Miss Yu Ru still favored Zhao Dai. Even if she liked him, deep down she respected Zhao Dai more than him. When he thought of this, he felt a little disappointed and a little angry. He hated himself for not living up to his expectations. Yu Ru said, "Young Master Zhao will probably defeat her." However, she's a woman, so young Master Zhao won't be ruthless. I have tender feelings for the fairer sex. Lu Xiaofeng smiled faintly. Ru nodded lightly. Lu Xiaofeng said, I'll go back and heal my injuries first. I'll know the news tomorrow. Ru said with concern, heal your injuries well. Don't let it go untreated. The martial arts of the White Tiger sect shouldn't be underestimated. Okay. Lu Xiaofeng felt a warmth in his heart. Ru still cared about him. While they were talking, Yang Ying had already found Chu Li's residence. She knocked on the door forcefully, and an old man with a white beard and eyebrows trembled as he walked out. Get Zhao Dai out here! Yang Ying shouted. The old man shook his head and pointed at his ears, indicating that he was deaf. Yang Ying scoffed. Zhao Dai is a coward. If he has the guts, he should come out and accept the challenge. The old man sighed and suddenly shook his sleeves. Yang Ying could only feel a strange force surging towards her, causing her to lose her balance and fly out. She widened her eyes in shock and disbelief. Chapter 831. She suddenly stopped looking down on him and scoffed. All right, you're pretending to be deaf. The old man pointed at his ears and shook his finger to indicate that he could not hear her. He then waved his hand to signal for her to leave. Yang Ying shouted angrily, I want to find Zhao Dai. The old man only shook his head. Yang Ying saw that he could not hear her, so she stopped talking. She leaped up and was about to barge into the house. Bang! An invisible wall blocked in front of her. She could only float down from the wall and glare at the old man. She saw that the old man had blocked her way with his palm. However, the old man's inner energy was extremely strong and she could not defeat him. She could not bear to use the black tiger heart hollowing fist. He was so old, what if she killed him? The old man gestured for her to leave. Humph, I'm going in no matter what. Yang Ying shouted and punched the old man. The old man dodged and did not take it head-on. Yang Ying originally thought that the old man would take the punch and she would enter the house. She did not expect the old man to not take it at all. She had no choice but to throw another punch. The old man dodged again and she missed. Yang Ying was surprised. She focused and channeled her energy, giving it her all. TSS, 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 TSS. Her small white fists let out a soft whistle. Her fist force was sharp and shot out like javelins. Small holes appeared on the ground and the holes became deeper and deeper. The old man dodged the attacks easily and was able to dodge them every time. Yang Ying threw more than 100 punches in one breath. The ground behind the old man was densely packed with small holes, but he was still at ease, and did not even gasp for breath. All right, who exactly are you? Yang Ying shouted. She could tell that something was wrong. If he was really the old man, how could he not be panting after so many attacks? The old man smiled and removed the mustache on his lips and eyebrows, revealing Chu Li's face. You. Yang Ying glared at him angrily and pointed at him. You're despicable. Chu Li said, do you understand now? Do you still want to fight? Through the omniscient mirror, Chu Li saw Yang Ying charging towards him in a threatening manner. Suddenly, a bright idea came to his mind. He thought of playing a prank and suddenly came up with this idea. Firstly, he thought it was fun. Secondly, he wanted her to back off. If she couldn't even defeat a gatekeeper, how could she have the face to challenge Zhao Dai? It would be best if Yang Ying did not notice anything strange, as it would save them a lot of trouble. Now that Yang Ying had discovered that something was amiss, he might as well admit it. Of course I'm going to fight. Yang Ying scoffed. You've been dodging all this while. Can't you just take one of my attacks? Black Tiger Heart Hollowing Fist. Chu Li said, all right then, I'll make you give up completely. Humph, watch me defeat you in one move. Yang Ying was full of confidence as she threw out a punch. Chu Li also threw a punch. It was the Divine Light Fist. Bang! The two palm energies collided, and their clothes fluttered as if they were in a gale. Yang Ying staggered and was pushed back by a strong force. Chu Li stood firmly on the spot and looked at her with his hands behind his back. You! Yang Ying retreated more than 10 steps before she stopped. She felt as if she was in a raging wave and could not control herself. This shocked her. She was gifted and had innate divine strength. She could defeat an innate master with just her divine strength alone. Moreover, she had mastered the Black Tiger heart-hollowing fist, which was one of the most difficult fist techniques to cultivate in the White Tiger sect. It was extremely powerful and was even more powerful than the White Tiger killing skill. She was very confident that she could defeat Chu Li. Even if he killed 5 elders, these elders had died to the light blade. Other than the light blade, Zhao Dai's other martial arts skills were definitely inferior to hers. At this moment, she finally understood that her cultivation level was not as good as Zhao Dai's. Chu Li smiled. Thank you for letting me win. Yang Ying scoffed. You're good. Chu Li extended his hand, indicating that she could leave. Yang Ying said, I'll be back. I won't accept your challenge again, Chu Li said. It's unfair for me to defeat a woman like you. The Tian Luo sect is full of women, and the Holy Church of Light is also full of women. Yang Ying pouted her red lips and scoffed. You look down on women, but don't you want to fight them? You're such an arrogant man. Chu Li shook his head and said nothing. Suddenly, Yang Ying threw a punch at Chu Li's head. Chu Li dodged to the side. Ding! A crisp sound was heard. Yang Ying's fist force sent one of the men in gray flying. The man in gray was planning to sneak an attack on Chu Li, but he did not expect Chu Li to suddenly dodge and punch him in the face. The force was so great that it was like a tidal wave. The man and his sword flew out for more than 20 meters in the air. Ding! Yang Ying turned around and threw another punch at her back. Another man in gray was sent flying along with his sword. TSS, TSS. A man in gray peeked out from the top of the wall on both sides, and 2 hidden weapons were shot at Chu Li. Chu Li swung his hands. Ugh! The 2 men in gray were stunned. Then, they covered their throats with their eyes wide open and fell to the ground. Bam bam, they fell into the wall. Chu Li's figure flashed, and he grabbed Yang Ying's sleeve, bringing her out of the range of the hidden weapons. Then, he let go of her sleeve and swung his left and right hand. Ugh! With 2 muffled groans, the 2 men in gray fell to the ground with their hands on their throat. Yang Ying looked at his hands in shock. Chu Li opened his hands, and they were empty. He smiled. I don't have a blade in my hands, but I have a blade in my heart. He suddenly swung his right hand again. Ugh! The man in gray above him fell to the ground. He covered his throat with his eyes wide open, and struggled to breathe, but to no avail. In the end, his eyes closed, and he stopped breathing. Yang Ying's eyes widened. Chu Li said, This is the 9th level of the light blade. Can you withstand it? Yang Ying quickly regained her composure and pretended to be disdainful. She scoffed. I can't withstand it now, but that doesn't mean I won't be able to withstand it in the future. Chu Li shook his head. The White Tiger sect's martial arts can't restrain the light blade. It's better for you to go back. Zhao Dai, don't be too full of yourself. I'll definitely defeat you. Yang Ying said. Chu Li smiled. Yang Ying turned around and left. TSS. A man in gray suddenly appeared from the corner of the wall and shot toward Yang Ying. Yang Ying swung her fist angrily, and the man in gray was instantly sent flying toward Chu Li like a stone bullet. Chu Li waved his hand, and the man in gray fell to the ground with his hands on his throat. Soon, he died. Who are they? Yang Ying stopped and scoffed. Let me tell you in advance, they're not from the White Tiger sect. Chu Li smiled. The White Tiger sect doesn't want to use such tactics? Humph, that's right. Yang Ying said. Besides, these people aren't even worth mentioning. They're just sending themselves to their death. We won't use these mediocre people. Chu Li nodded. They're just here to test my strength. I don't think they're from Gale City. You've offended a lot of people. Yang Ying asked curiously. Do you know who they are? Chu Li shook his head. Who have you offended? Yang Ying asked. Chu Li smiled. I've offended all the forces in Gale City. Chapter 832. As Chu Li watched Yang Ying's slender silhouette disappear into the distance, his expression turned solemn and he frowned. The White Tiger sect was indeed powerful. They knew when to yield and when to use a honey trap when they could not win. They did not think that it was inferior for one of the four major sects to use such a tactic. Moreover, they did not hesitate to change from hard to soft and flexible. This was not something an ordinary person possessed. It was not the work of an ordinary person. It was not easy to let go of hatred. One could imagine how much pressure they had to suppress the doubts and complaints of many people. Although it was just a guess, there was no evidence to prove it. Yang Ying was unaware that she was in the middle of the situation. However, the White Tiger sect had countless spies in Gale City. If Yang Ying had really sneaked out, the White Tiger sect would have known about it and taken her back. The normal reaction would be to take her back in advance out of fear that he would kill her instead of letting her make a scene to provoke him. No matter how slow the White Tiger sect was, they should have reacted long ago. Perhaps the White Tiger sect came up with this idea because the news of him being infatuated with Yu Ru had spread. In terms of appearance, Yang Ying was indeed better. Moreover, she was lively and cheerful, which made people less wary of her. Chu Li touched his chin. This was one of the strengths of the White Tiger sect. With such a lively and cheerful female disciple, the White Tiger sect might not necessarily want the two of them to have an intimate relationship. Women like her were more likable. Even if they did not have romantic feelings for each other, they would still like her. As a result, they would be able to reduce their disgust and hostility toward the White Tiger sect. He then shook his head and smiled. He had thought too deeply. When he saw the man in gray on the ground, his expression turned serious again. They had appeared too suddenly and strangely. They were obviously not from Gale City. They were probably some fellow disciples who did not know his strength well. After this, they would send more powerful people to assassinate him. Since they could not wait to attack so early, his senior brothers were determined to kill him. His cultivation level was divided into two parts. One part was his original cultivation level. The cloud slashing power, the heavenly demonic power, and the life and death scripture were already top-notch. Back then, he was only slightly inferior to the Holy Church of Light's priest Feng Qingyang. After cultivating the divine light technique, his speed became faster and he could surpass Feng Qingyang. The other part was the cultivation level of the divine light technique. After coming to the Li dynasty, he used the life and death scripture to completely abandon his original cultivation level. He became a person without inner energy and started cultivating the divine light technique from scratch. He had cultivated both the Great Light Scripture and Mahavairokkana's Immobility Scripture at the same time and cultivated the Divine Light Body, allowing his Divine Light technique to advance at an incredible speed. However, he had only cultivated it for slightly more than 2 months after all, so there was a limit to how fast he could advance. Based on his cultivation level alone, he was far from being able to surpass the elders of the White Tiger sect, much less Feng Qingyang. In fact, he could not even compare to the Outer Mountain disciples who had cultivated for 10 years. However, he had mastered the 9th level of the Light Blade, which allowed his abilities to far exceed his cultivation level. It was as if he suddenly had a pistol in the era of cold weapons. He could kill the White Tiger sect elder with his Light Blade, so it would be a piece of cake for him to deal with these Outer Mountain disciples. In this way, he would be able to secure first place in the Outer Mountain Disciple Tournament. How could the Outer Mountain disciples, who had painstakingly cultivated for more than a decade and were determined to become the champion, not view him as a thorn in their side, a thorn in their flesh that they would remove as soon as possible. They might even unite to kill him. Thinking of this, a cold smile appeared on his face. He wanted to see what kind of people they would send over. These repulsive people today were really disappointing. The next morning, Chuli went to 9-Star Tower for breakfast as usual. This time, he managed to grab a seat by the window and sat at the table to look out of the window. He looked down at the people coming and going. It was noisy and trivial, and the smell of life assaulted his senses. He felt that the lives of ordinary people were right in front of him, and he was no longer as distant and unapproachable as the clouds. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps could be heard. Amidst the faint fragrance, Yang Ying walked over to his table with light steps and sat directly opposite him. She waved her hand to summon a servant over and quickly gave him a list of menus. Chuli looked at her helplessly. "Miss Yang, didn't you go back to cultivate in isolation?" "I don't want to go back yet." Yang Ying shook her head. "It's not easy for me to go down the mountain. I'll be punished when I go back, and I probably won't be able to come down for a few years. Of course, I want to have fun." "How many days do you want to play?" Chuli asked. "I don't know," Yang Ying said. "I'll play as long as I can. I think Master will come looking for me soon." Those people from Roaring Tiger Clan promised to keep this a secret, but they must have secretly reported it to the mountain. Chuli smiled. "What's so fun about Gale City?" "There's a lot of fun," Yang Ying exclaimed. "It's very lively, and the dishes at 9-Star Tower are delicious." Chuli nodded. No wonder she was so familiar with the names of the dishes. It seemed that she had been eating here for a long time and was almost done with her research. Yang Ying moved closer to him and sized him up with her bright eyes. Chuli did not hate her. Instead, he found her adorable. Because of his appearance, there were very few beauties who were so close to him and did not hate him. Yang Ying's friendly and easygoing manner made him feel very close to her. Chuli took a sip of wine and looked out of the window with a thoughtful expression. Yang Ying burst into laughter. Chuli looked at her helplessly. "What's wrong?" "I just think that you're ridiculous." Chuli asked, "What's so ridiculous about it? Do you really like that Miss Yuru?" Chuli remained silent. It would be troublesome whether he answered or not, so he could only keep his mouth shut. "I think that Miss Yuru really likes that Lu Xiaofeng," Yang Ying said. Chuli nodded. "I heard that you've obtained our white tiger armor?" "Yes. I'll help you get Miss Yuru back, and you'll give me a set of white tiger armor. What do you think?" Chuli shook his head and laughed. "I've never forced anyone. I'll cripple Lu Xiaofeng's martial arts and force him to cultivate in isolation," Yang Ying said excitedly. "Then, you can take advantage of the situation and win Miss Yuru's heart." Chuli laughed. "With my appearance, it's useless for me to stay by her side for a long time. Your face is indeed a little lacking." Yang Ying looked at him from head to toe and shook her head. "You're unlucky that your parents don't treat you well. I'm much luckier." As she spoke, she covered her delicate little face with her hands, feeling pleased with herself. Chuli felt that talking to her was relaxing and pleasant. Yang Ying put her hands down and said seriously, "The White Tiger sect has a white tiger bone-setting skill. After you cultivate it, your flat nose will straighten and your cheekbones will become shorter. You'll look much better. Do you want to give it a try?" Chuli raised his eyebrows. Yang Ying said, "A set of white tiger armor." Chuli immediately shook his head. Yang Ying scoffed and said, "Think about it, your martial arts is so powerful. If you become a little more good-looking, you won't have to worry about women liking you. Isn't a set of white tiger armor worth it?" "It's not worth it." Chuli shook his head. "You're such a boring person." Yang Ying scoffed. "No wonder no women like you." Chuli glared at her. Yang Ying said, "Then tell me, how can you give me a set of white tiger armor?" Chapter 833. Yang Ying scoffed. "You got 2 sets anyway, you don't need so many." I've already given one set away, Chu Li said. Yang Ying frowned and glared at him. You're really generous. The white tiger armor is a rare treasure. Chu Li said, I can't possibly wear 2 sets, right? Alright, I won't talk to you anymore. Yang Ying saw the servant bringing the dishes over and quickly buried her head in the food. She ate elegantly but quickly without any signs of rudeness. It was obvious that she had received good upbringing. Chu Li's appetite grew when he saw her eating so happily. After finishing her meal, Yang Ying let out a long sigh of relief and said with satisfaction, All right, do you want to learn the white tiger bone-setting skill? I don't have the white tiger armor. I don't want your white tiger armor. Yang Ying scoffed. I'll give it to you for free, how about that? Chu Li looked doubtful. Yang Ying scoffed. I just feel sorry for you because you look so pitiful. Don't be ungrateful. Besides, this isn't a secret skill, there's no harm in passing it to you. Forget it. Chu Li shook his head. I'll just keep looking like this. I've changed so much that I can't even recognize myself. Yang Ying pouted. Then you just wait and see which woman likes you. Chu Li smiled as he picked up his glass and took a sip. Swoosh. A cold light suddenly shot towards Yang Ying. Yang Ying scoffed as she clenched her fist and smashed it down. Ding! A flying blade fell to the ground with a clear sound. Swoosh! 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 3 cold lights formed the shape of a triangle and attacked Yang Ying's throat and chest, not giving her a chance to dodge. Yang Ying's face was serious and covered with a layer of frost. She still smashed her fist down. Ding ding ding! The 3 cold lights were smashed away and the 3 flying blades fell to the ground. Yang Ying scolded, Despicable fellow! She flashed like a fish and instantly passed through the people around her. She came to a table 5 meters away and smashed her fist towards a green-robed elder. The green-robed elder had a thin figure and his back was facing her. He did not look like someone who shot flying blade. Yang Ying's fist came crashing down, and the green-robed old man dodged to the side. Another cold light shot out, and it was right in front of him. He had been preparing this blade all along. Ding! Just as the flying blade was about to reach Yang Ying, it was suddenly sent flying by an invisible force. Chu Li withdrew his right hand. Yang Ying broke out in a cold sweat. She was still too inexperienced, and had almost fallen into this old man's trap. Thinking of this, she was shocked and angry. Her elegant fists flashed and she suddenly sped up. The green-robed elder had already dodged the punch, but he did not expect Yang Ying's fist to suddenly change direction at such a fast speed that he could not dodge it. He could only extend his palm to receive the blow. Bam! He smashed into the ground, unable to move as if he had been crushed by a mountain. Yang Ying stepped on his back with her little boot and pressed his head against the floor. She asked fiercely, Who are you? She felt very strange. She had just left the mountain and did not have any enemies. Even if she had enemies, they would be enemies of the White Tiger sect. However, it was strange that the enemies of the White Tiger sect would fight with a woman like her. Chu Li replied, They're here for me. He shook his head and said, Let him go. We won't be able to get anything out of him. You have too many enemies. Yang Ying scoffed. I can't get close to you anymore. Otherwise, I'll die because of you. Then, she glared at Chu Li. You're a jinx. Chu Li said, I saved you just now. It's all because of you. Yang Ying said, I won't be grateful to you. Goodbye. She turned around and left in a hurry as if she was afraid that he would ask her to stay. Chu Li shook his head and laughed. He walked up to the green-robed elder and sighed. Who invited you here? I don't think you'll tell me. Chu Li shook his head and said, All right, I won't kill you. Then, he flicked his finger at the green-robed elder. The green-robed elder hurriedly covered his dantian and glared at him in despair and resentment. He felt his inner energy flowing like water and his cultivation level was rapidly slipping away. Chu Li stood up and left 9 Star Tower. In the evening, Yu Ru opened the door and entered Bai Feng's room. Master. Bai Feng sat cross-legged on the bed and slowly opened her eyes. What's the matter? There's a rumor going around that a female disciple of the White Tiger sect is pursuing young Master Zhao. Yu Ru frowned slightly. I've seen this young lady before. She's a good girl. She doesn't seem like a honey trap set up by the White Tiger sect. Zhao Dai hasn't been here for the past few days. No. It seems like he likes you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have acted this way. Yu Ru lowered her head. Bai Feng asked, Are you worried that the White Tiger sect is trying to set up a honey trap? Yes. Yu Ru nodded. Bai Feng chuckled. Don't worry. The White Tiger sect has admitted defeat. Even if it's a honey trap, they won't harm him. Who knows, they might actually pull him over to their side and turn him into a friend. 5 elders have died. Not only did they not seek revenge, but they're also turning enemies into friends? This is the martial arts world. The strong are respected. He'll soon become an inner mountain disciple of the Holy Church of Light and an important person in the Holy Church of Light. If the White Tiger sect continues to be enemies with him, they'll suffer even more losses. After all, the Holy Church of Light is the leader of the Li dynasty. Then what about the White Tiger sect's dignity? The 5 elders died because they were not as skilled as Zhao Dai. It's not a personal grudge. It's not wise to risk your life knowing that you can't defeat him. Bai Feng shook her head. The 4 major sects have been around since ancient times, and each has their own way of survival. Master, I don't think it's a honey trap. It's a honey trap. Everyone knows about it. The White Tiger sect doesn't intend to hide it from others. This. Yu Ru hesitated. Bai Feng asked, You don't want to admit it? Why? Yu Ru shook her head. I just don't think it's the case. Miss Yang Ying is very innocent. She doesn't know. Bai Feng chuckled. That's why Zhao Dai doesn't dislike her. If he knew, this plan would be useless. Yu Ru nodded slowly. Bai Feng said, Zhao Dai is smart enough to know that he's just pretending. You don't have to worry about him. Yes. Yu Ru nodded. All right, you may leave. Bai Feng waved her hand. Yu Ru gave a fist salute and left slowly. Bai Feng shook her head. She understood what her disciple was thinking. It was as if her toy had been snatched away by someone else. Although she did not like the toy that much, she still felt uncomfortable when it was snatched away. Suddenly, there was a rhythmic knock on the door. It was 3 long knocks and 2 short knocks. Bai Feng said, Come in. A servant in green pushed the door open and came to the couch. He handed her a bamboo tube with both hands. Bai Feng opened it and unrolled the scroll. She quickly scanned through it and frowned. She waved her hand. The manservant bowed and left silently. Bai Feng looked at the scroll with a solemn expression. The inevitable had finally happened. The Church of the Bloody Garment had been resurrected. The revival of the Church of the Bloody Garment must have had something to do with the Zheng dynasty or the Fu dynasty. However, she could not care less about the Zheng dynasty and the Fu dynasty. She had to deal with the Church of the Bloody Garment first. The first step of their revival was to deal with the Tian Luo sect. They had to start with the Phoenix Goddess brothel in Gale City. She frowned and got off the couch. She walked to the desk and started grinding the ink. Chapter 834. P.S. Thank you for your support. Bai Feng thought about the Church of the Bloody Garment while grinding the ink. The disciples of the Church of the Bloody Garment were all dressed in white. They looked similar to the disciples of the Holy Church of Light, which did not match the name of the Church of the Bloody Garment. The Church of the Bloody Garment originated from the Bloody Garment divine power. Logically speaking, the blood-robed cult was only a small cult. Compared to the Tian Luo sect, they were worlds apart. However, it was this small cult that caused great damage to the Tian Luo sect and lost a lot of vitality. The Bloody Garment divine power was very evil. It was different from other martial arts in the martial arts world. It used the power of blood essence. Compared to inner energy, it was not as subtle but overbearing. It was like the difference between a knife technique and a sword technique. Inner energy was like a sword, agile and subtle. The power of blood essence was like a knife, fierce and overbearing. What was more terrifying was that the bloody garment divine power could directly devour blood essence. Once the bloody garment divine power was cultivated, one could not come into contact with it. Otherwise, the blood essence would be absorbed by the bloody garment divine power, and one would become a dried corpse. At the moment, there was no good way to counter the bloody garment divine power. The only thing they could do was not to come into contact with it. Grandmasters could either release their inner energy or use hidden weapons. The bloody garment divine power was fierce and overbearing. Grandmasters could not attack from afar. The key was hidden weapons. The Tian Luo sect was good at the musical assassination technique. It was the best way to restrain the bloody garment divine power. Therefore, the Church of the Bloody Garment had always regarded the Tian Luo sect as a thorn in their side. Once they were re-established, they would first deal with the Tian Luo sect. Otherwise, the Church of the Bloody Garment would be destroyed. There were not many Church of the Bloody Garment disciples. The Bloody Garment divine power was too difficult to cultivate. It required great talent. Most people who cultivated the Bloody Garment divine power would die due to the collapse of their blood essence. Bai Feng picked up the brush and took a deep breath. She wrote a piece of paper in one go and blew on it. The Tian Luo sect must send masters over. It was difficult for her to fight alone. If the Church of the Bloody Garment disciples attacked, the Phoenix Goddess brothel would not be able to stop them. According to the Tian Luo sect, there were 10 Church of the Bloody Garment disciples. It seemed small and did not pose much of a threat. However, she knew the threat of 10 Church of the Bloody Garment divine power. The most powerful thing about the Bloody Garment divine skill was that it could devour and strengthen itself. After absorbing the essence and blood of the opponent, it would turn into its own strength and become purer and more domineering. The more opponents it defeated, the stronger the Bloody Garment divine skill would become. The Bloody Garment divine power relied on devouring to cultivate, but there was a limitation. It was useless to devour the blood of people who were stronger than oneself. Early in the morning, Chu Li continued to sit at the 9-star tower for his meal. He looked around and could not find Yang Ying anywhere. He could not help but feel a little disappointed. This beautiful lady was lively and adorable. It was very relaxing and pleasant to be around her. He shook his head helplessly as he did not see Yang Ying after his meal. It seems like she really thinks of me as a jinx and doesn't dare to go near me. Or did the White Tiger sect really come and take her back? He glanced around and his gaze landed on a middle-aged man. He frowned. The middle-aged man's gaze swept past him and looked in another direction, as if he did not recognize him. Chu Li came over and sat opposite the middle-aged man. He asked gently, "Which senior brother invited you over?" The middle-aged man looked at him in confusion. Chu Li shook his head. "It's best if you don't act rashly. I don't have a good temper. If you move, I'll kill you right away." "Young master." The middle-aged man became even more confused. Chu Li smiled and stood up to leave. The middle-aged man watched him leave. His expression slowly darkened and he frowned. This Zhao Dai was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. He was extremely perceptive. The middle-aged man had only been sitting nearby and did not show any hostility. Yet, he had been discovered by Zhao Dai after observing him for a while. It was not easy to assassinate a grandmaster with such sensitivity. He thought about it and decided to go back first to increase the price. Otherwise, he would suffer a huge loss. This was not the standard of the outer mountain disciples of the Holy Church of Light. Even the inner mountain disciples of the Holy Church of Light could not compare. Chu Li watched the middle-aged man glide away and followed him. He used the omniscient mirror to follow the middle-aged man from afar. They left Gale City and headed north. They ran for more than 1,000 miles in one go and arrived at a big city, Radiant Cloud City. After entering Radiant Cloud City, the middle-aged man began to walk in circles. Chuli let him be and walked 3 circles before entering a residence. The residence was heavily guarded. 2 young innate masters stood outside the door with their swords in their hands. There were 10 innate masters and 2 grandmasters inside the residence. The middle-aged man entered the main hall. There was a beautiful young girl sitting in the main hall. She had a round face and delicate snow-white skin that was tinged with pink. She was very charming. She was drinking tea and looking at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man fist saluted. "Greetings, clan leader Mo," the beautiful young girl asked. "Is it done?" The middle-aged man shook his head. "Please forgive me, clan leader Mo. We can't do it." The beautiful young girl frowned and looked at him with dissatisfaction. The middle-aged man quickly said, "It's not that we don't want to do it, but we can't. Zhao Dai's cultivation level is far higher than we thought. On the contrary, he's a difficult person to deal with. His cultivation level is only slightly lower than yours, clan leader Mo. We don't have full confidence. Even if we do take action, we probably won't be able to escape." "He's that strong?" The beautiful young girl frowned. "He's only been in the sect for 2 months. It's already an honor for him to let you go. It seems that my junior brother is a genius. Yes, I've asked around in the city. Zhao Dai is the #1 master in Gale City. He killed 5 elders of the White Tiger sect. His light blade is extremely powerful and no one can block it. No matter how arrogant we are, we won't dare to take action." The middle-aged man said, "So, clan leader Mo, we need more powerful masters to support us. Also, we need to pay 10 times the price." "Money isn't a problem," the beautiful young girl said. "The key is whether you can do it. Zhao Dai is very powerful to be able to kill 5 elders of the White Tiger sect," the middle-aged man said slowly. "However, we're not using martial arts. I don't think he can defend himself." Chuli knew from the man's mind that they used hidden weapons to kill people. They were a unique type of hidden weapon that specialized in breaking the external chi construct. They were extremely fast. Once they were used, they would be like a violent storm that could not be avoided. The only thing that mattered was how many of them could be avoided. Once these hidden weapons landed on one's body, one would lose a lot of blood. They were extremely vicious. Chuli could see the hidden weapons in the man's mind. It looked like a silver rod. Once the switch was pressed, the metal rod would shoot out hundreds of tiny arrows that shot out like a violent storm. Each arrow was a barb and was stained with blood. Once the arrows were shot into one's body, the only way to pull them out was to use a knife to dig out the flesh. The blood would keep flowing out and there was no way to stop it. Chuli inhaled a breath of cold air when he saw such a vicious hidden weapon. He might be able to dodge 1 arrow, but he might not be able to dodge 10 arrows that were shot at the same time. It seemed that this clan leader Mo wanted his life. "It's good that you can't defend yourself." Clan leader Mo took a sip of tea and took out 10 banknotes from her sleeve. With a light flick, the banknotes slowly floated toward the middle-aged man. She said, "This is the deposit. Do it as soon as possible." Chapter 835. Clan leader Mo sighed and shook his head. "There's nothing I can do about the helpers. I'm short on manpower here too, and I can't let my men move out. Otherwise, it'll attract suspicion. If he dies, the Holy Church of Light will definitely investigate. You guys aren't afraid, but I can't." Sigh. The middle-aged man shook his head. "All right, we'll head back immediately after we're done. As for the helpers, we don't need them. We'll just look for an opportunity." Chuli could read from his mind that the man wanted to attack when there were many people around him. At that time, Chuli would not be vigilant and he would not be able to dodge the arrows if there were people around him. For the safety of the people around him, he could only block the arrows. If he did that, he would definitely die. Chu Li frowned and was secretly angry. This man was really cruel and deserved to die. It seemed like he had done this many times. Clan leader Mo waved his hand. Leave immediately after you're done. Don't underestimate the martial arts world of the Li dynasty. No problem. The middle-aged man closed-fist saluted. I'll leave first then. Wait for my good news. He then stood up and left the main hall. Soon, he left Radiant Cloud City and rushed back to Gale City. Chu Li followed closely behind him and ignored the mastermind, clan leader Mo. He had to deal with the middle-aged man and his men first. Otherwise, he would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. It was fine if they wanted to kill him, but he was afraid that they would do it in a crowded place. The middle-aged man circled a few more times and was extremely cautious. Chu Li shook his head. The more cautious they were, the more experienced they were and the more people they had killed. The middle-aged man finally arrived at a small courtyard. There were 3 men in the courtyard. Including the middle-aged man, there were 4 of them. They were all middle-aged and looked ordinary. They were easily overlooked in the crowd. Boss, how's the investigation going? The 3 middle-aged men were cultivating in the courtyard. When they saw him return, they quickly asked. The middle-aged man nodded. This Zhao Dai is indeed a powerful person. We need to find a crowded place and take action when someone is trying to assassinate him. Otherwise, it'll be difficult to succeed. This guy is very sharp and has a strong sense of danger. It'll be difficult for us to assassinate him. That's good. We'll pick up the loot later. One of the middle-aged men smiled. But will someone assassinate him? If Mo Qingqing wants to kill him, won't the others do the same? The middle-aged man scoffed. Zhao Dai is in the limelight. He must die. He doesn't understand the concept of making a fortune in silence. The other 3 laughed. They were the epitome of making a fortune in silence. They looked ordinary, but it was hard for people to imagine how much money they had. Don't be careless. The middle-aged man said in a deep voice, a person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. There is no mistake. This fellow is very difficult to deal with. After we make a move, we must retreat immediately, regardless of whether he lives or dies. That's for sure. The other 3 nodded. Boss, do you want us to take another mission before we go back? A middle-aged man asked. We didn't gain much from this trip to Dali. The middle-aged man shook his head. He's an outstanding Outer Mountain disciple of the Holy Church of Light. The Holy Church of Light will definitely investigate this matter. We can't stay here any longer. We must leave immediately. Sigh. I'm just a little unwilling. The middle-aged man from before suggested, why don't we look for another Outer Mountain disciple of the Holy Church of Light to take on a job as well? Wouldn't that be even better? Don't let your imagination run wild. Focus on preparing. The middle-aged man said in a deep voice, money is not a problem. I have already asked Mo Qingqing for 10 times the amount. The 3 of them were overjoyed. Just then, Chu Li appeared. Before they could react, Chu Li shouted and activated Stupefying Howl. Then, he swung his hands 4 times and the 4 of them fell to the ground with their hands on their throat. Before they died, Chu Li asked, where did you hide the hidden weapons? How do I use them? They widened their eyes and stared at him in despair and resentment. Soon, their eyes were filled with mockery and delight. Chu Li said, you said that the Qiu dynasty's machine hall will seek revenge? The 4 of them sneered. Chu Li said, even if they do, they won't be able to take revenge on me. Then, he suddenly stabbed the long sword at his waist. The 4 of them were stabbed in their throat. The divine light sword technique was precise and sharp, and they died instantly. Chu Li lifted their sleeves and saw a silver tube tied to each of their arms. It was half an arm long and stretched from their wrists to their elbows. From the outside, it was impossible to tell what was inside their sleeve. Chu Li removed them one by one and tied them to his own arm. The Destiny Clan, the Qiu dynasty's machine hall. Chu Li shook his head. The Qiu dynasty and the Ji dynasty were separated by the most powerful Fu dynasty. Therefore, the Qiu dynasty and the Ji dynasty did not interact much with each other. He did not know much about the Qiu dynasty's martial arts world, so he did not know about the Destiny Clan. However, to have such violent and shocking hidden weapons, it must not be some unknown sect or faction. He tied the 8 silver tubes to his arms. They were quite heavy, but with his amazing divine power, it did not affect him much. He glided out of the courtyard and out of Gale City. He went straight to magnificent Wind City and entered Mo Qingqing's residence. Mo Qingqing was practicing her swordsmanship in the backyard. It was the divine light sword technique. Chu Li glided down without making a sound. Mo Qingqing was startled and turned to glare at him. When she saw Chu Li, she frowned and asked, "Who are you?" Chu Li replied, "Zhao Dave. It's you." Mo Qingqing's expression changed slightly and she smiled. "Junior brother Zhao, I'm your senior sister, Mo Qingqing." Chu Li shook his head. "I dare not call you junior brother. I can't accept a senior sister like clan leader Mo. What do you mean, junior brother Zhao?" Mo Qingqing smiled. Her mind raced. Since she could figure out Zhao Dai's situation, Zhao Dai must be able to figure out her as well. Could it be that he was thinking the same thing as her, and wanted to get rid of the obstacles in advance? If she was not determined to win this year, there was no need for her to take such a risk and risk being punished by the Holy Church of Light to assassinate Zhao Dai. After 10 years of hard cultivation, she felt that she had reached a bottleneck. An invisible force was restraining her, and she could not move forward anymore. It was time to enter the Great Light Peak, or else her cultivation would be difficult to improve. This bottleneck was not because she did not have a complete set of techniques. She did not cultivate the techniques to the peak. Instead, it was because she did not have enough martial arts knowledge and cultivation. Cultivating alone was not as fast as having a senior to consult or sparring with other disciples. If she continued like this, she would fall further behind and fade into the crowd. Chu Li said, "The Qiu dynasty's Destiny Clan. I'm sure clan leader Mo knows about it?" Mo Qingqing's expression changed completely. She could no longer maintain her composure. "Junior brother Zhao, you know about the Destiny Clan?" Chu Li rolled up his sleeves and showed her the 4 silver tubes that were tied to his arm. He asked, "Clan leader Mo, do you recognize this?" "How did you?" Mo Qingqing's beautiful face turned gloomy. "How did you get this?" Chu Li replied, "They gave it to me." "Impossible. I still have a bit of a reputation in Gale City. After receiving your money, they didn't want to impersonate me, so they came to confess and gave me these things. Then, they returned to the Qiu dynasty with their tails between their legs." "You won't be able to see them again," Chu Li said. Mo Qingqing scoffed coldly. She did not believe him. Chu Li said, however, to show their sincerity, they killed their employer, clan leader Mo, before they came to confess to me to gain my trust. Chapter 836. Chu Li continued, "I heard that they killed you, clan leader Mo, so I came to see you." Mo Qingqing scoffed and frowned. "What do you mean?" Chu Li shook his head. "I've always repaid kindness with kindness. Since someone wants to kill me, I won't wait for them to kill me. I'll always strike first and gain the upper hand. Clan leader Mo, I'm sorry." He then pressed the button on the silver tube. TSS 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 TSS. 4 cold lights shot out and turned into hundreds of thin arrows that shrouded Mo Qingqing. Ding 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 ding. Mo Qingqing waved her long sword to protect herself amidst the continuous ringing. The sword light was like a light shield that could not be penetrated. Chu Li shouted and activated Stupefying Howl again. Mo Qingqing's long sword paused for a moment and 10 thin arrows shot at her. As Chu Li activated Stupefying Howl, he pressed the silver tube on his other arm. Another 4 cold lights shot out and most of the hundreds of thin arrows landed on her body. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. What's the point? He grabbed Mo Qingqing's long sword and waved it. Without looking at the beautiful woman's head, he tossed the long sword and glided away. At this time, the protectors in the residence still did not move. No one was allowed to disturb the clan leader when she was cultivating. No one was allowed to check on her no matter what happened so as to not affect her cultivation. Chu Li left Radiant Cloud City silently. He had always been protective of the fairer sex, but he would be a fool if he continued to be protective of the fairer sex when faced with someone who wanted to kill him. No matter how beautiful a woman was, if she wanted to kill him, he could only destroy her. He returned to Gale City and continued to cultivate as if nothing had happened. He was curious as to who else would want to assassinate him other than Mo Qingqing. The next morning, he went to 9-Star Tower for breakfast. As soon as he entered, he saw Yang Ying, who was sitting by the window and eating quickly. She was dressed in a green gown and her delicate face was lovely. She was holding a sesame seed cake in her hand and was enjoying it. Chu Li sat opposite her. When Yang Ying looked up and saw him, she immediately shifted her body as if she wanted to stay away from him. Why are you here? Chu Li smiled. Have you been avoiding me? Haven't you heard the rumors outside? Yang Ying curled her cherry lips and wiped the corner of her mouth with a silk handkerchief. Then, she scoffed and said, You're saying that I'm pursuing you? The White Tiger sect is trying to seduce me with their beauty. How infuriating! Chu Li smiled and said, They can say whatever they want. Why do you have to care so much? How can I not be angry when you're so infuriating? Yang Ying scoffed. You make it sound as if it's true. Why don't they think about it? How is it possible? Chu Li said, Perhaps your enemies from the White Tiger sect are spreading rumors to slander you. It must be them. Yang Ying nodded vigorously. Can you guess who it is? Chu Li shook his head and said, The White Tiger sect has more enemies than I do. How can I guess? That's true. Yang Ying thought about it and nodded. The White Tiger sect does have more enemies than you do. Chu Li said, So don't think that I'm too much trouble. Yang Ying chuckled softly. However, the White Tiger sect has so many troubles, and not many of them would dare to assassinate us. You're different. If I stay by your side, I'll definitely be implicated by you. I won't do that. Chu Li shook his head helplessly and said, When are you going back to the mountain? I received news that Master has already left the mountain. Yang Ying immediately sighed with a bitter expression. I think it'll only take 2 days. Really? Chu Li said, Then take advantage of these 2 days to have some fun. Of course. Yang Ying scoffed and then smiled. But I've almost explored Gale City. Even if I go back, I won't have any regrets. I'll go to another city next time. She gave Chu Li a sidelong glance. But when will you leave Gale City? Chu Li said, I'll leave after the Radiance clan is built. That'll be a long time, Yang Ying said. With how slow they are, it'll take at least half a year. Chu Li smiled. Young Master Zhao. Suddenly, a crisp voice was heard. Chu Li turned his head and saw Miss Yu-Ru walking over. She was dressed in a light green gown and looked fresh and pleasant. She walked gracefully and gracefully. Chu Li waved his hand. Miss Yu-Ru, come and sit down. Yang Ying looked at Yu-Ru and scoffed. Why are you here? Are you here to avenge your sweetheart? Yu-Ru shook her head and smiled. I'm just here for breakfast. I've been eating at Phoenix Goddess Brothel all this time, and I'm getting a little sick of it. I'm here for a change. Chu Li glanced at Yang Ying and then at Yu-Ru. What happened to young Master Lu? Yang Ying said, I beat him up. Yu-Ru smiled. He was no match for you, Miss Yang, so he was agitated and went into isolated cultivation again. He said that he'll take revenge. Miss Yang, you have to be careful. Yang Ying snorted, Him? He'll have to cultivate for another 10 years. Chu Li praised her. It's rare to see someone so hard-working. Moreover, He's a genius in martial arts. I have to hurry up and cultivate too. Yu Ru said, I heard that young Master Zhao encountered 2 assassination attempts? Chu Li nodded and smiled. It's not a big deal. It's just a small matter. You still have to be careful, Yu Ru said. It's hard to defend against sneak attacks. Yang Ying scoffed. He's a big problem. Nothing good will happen when he's around. I'll take my leave first. As soon as she finished speaking, she stood up and left. She opened the window and leaped out, disappearing from Chu Li's sight in the blink of an eye. Chu Li watched her leave with a smile on his face. When Yu Ru saw him smiling so happily, she felt that it was an eyesore. She asked, Young Master Zhao, have you been in isolated cultivation recently? Chu Li replied, The martial arts competition is coming up soon. I have to seize the time to cultivate. Yu Ru scoffed to herself. She wanted to say that since he was seizing the time to cultivate, why would he have the time to have breakfast? He could have just eaten in his own room and continued cultivating. However, a faint smile hung on her pretty face. With young Master Zhao's martial arts skills, there's nothing to worry about. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. My senior brothers and senior sisters are all geniuses. They've been cultivating longer than I have. In that case, young Master Zhao, please cultivate well. I won't disturb you any longer. Yu Ru smiled and stood up. She curtsied and gracefully left. Chu Li watched as she left. He shook his head and could not help but laugh. A woman's jealousy was really strange. All of a sudden, his gaze focused on a young man. This young man was dressed in white. He had a handsome smile on his face that made him feel like a spring breeze. He was even gently waving a folding fan in his hand. This young man was staring at Yu Ru's back. His smile did not diminish, and his gaze was filled with deep affection. It was very eye-catching. People around him kept glancing at him. Chu Li sized this young man up and pondered. This person seemed to be interested in Yu Ru. It seemed like he had fallen in love with her and wanted to pursue her. Everyone would think that way. No one would have thought that he had a murderous intent and wanted to take Yu Ru's life. Chu Li found this strange. This young man's body was wrapped in a layer of red glow. It looked like flames, but it also looked like thick smoke. His energy was unusually strong. Chapter 837. He stared at the young man thoughtfully as he tried to guess his identity. The young man slowly stood up and left the restaurant, trailing behind Yu Ru. 9-Star Tower and Phoenix Goddess Brothel were about 3 miles apart. Yu Ru did not use her light body technique. Instead, she walked along the bustling street. She would stop from time to look around, pick up a trinket, and ask for its price. After bargaining for a while, she bought 5 accessories in no time. The young man trailed behind her leisurely while fanning himself with a folding fan in his hand. He strolled leisurely and occasionally stopped to ask about the market price. Meanwhile, Chu Li was a mile away from them. He strolled along the street, listening to the clamor of haggling around him. He enjoyed the atmosphere very much, but he knew that he could only enjoy it for a while. If he continued to live such an ordinary life, he would not be able to stand it. Yu Ru walked gracefully and finally turned left. She left the bustling street and walked into a small alley. The alley was quiet and there were many twists and turns that seemed endless. It was only 1 street away from the main street, but it felt like 2 different worlds. The young man leaped out from the corner of the wall and pounced toward Yu Ru. He was like a ferocious tiger charging down a mountain. Yu Ru suddenly leaped backward to avoid his attack. She frowned and asked, "Who are you?" The young man stopped and gave a fist salute with a faint smile. "I'm Sun Shitting from the Church of the Bloody Garment. Greetings, Miss Yu Ru from Tianluo sect." Sun Shitting. Yu Ru scoffed. "The Church of the Bloody Garment is here. The Church of the Bloody Garment will never forget the great kindness that the Tianluo sect has shown." Sun Shitting smiled. "I've been thinking of repaying you every day. Today, I'll take your life as interest. Yuru said calmly, You're talking big. Miss Yuru, you've been too careless. Sun Shitting shook his head. I didn't bring my zither with me, so I couldn't use my musical assassination technique. I'm sorry that I got lucky. You can leave if you're sorry, Yuru said. Sun Shitting laughed. Haha, Miss Yuru, how can I let go of this opportunity? Even if I feel guilty, I have to do it for the sake of the Church of the Bloody Garment. You're such a hypocrite. Yuru scoffed. Let's do it. Sun Shitting replied. Then I'm sorry to offend you. Don't worry, Miss Yuru, I'll give you a proper burial. I'll burn incense for you every year on the anniversary of your death. I won't let you suffer in the netherworld. Yuru glared at him coldly. All of a sudden, she took out a jade flute from her sleeve, brought it to her lips, and blew on it gently. Woo! A clear whistle rang out, and Sun Shitting's body trembled. His expression changed drastically. His previous calm and confident demeanor vanished as he charged toward Yuru with all his might. Woo-woo! The sound of the jade flute lingered in the air. Yuru's figure fluttered as she evaded Sun Shitting's attack. Like a lotus flower floating on a lake, she swayed leisurely. Sun Shitting was like a mad tiger, attacking with all his might. His fists were ferocious and overbearing, whistling through the air. However, the whistling sound of his fists could not overpower the faint sound of the jade flute. The sound of the flute could be heard clearly and seemed to be one with one's heartbeat. When the sound of the flute rose, his heartbeat accelerated. When the sound of the flute fell, his heartbeat slowed down. Sun Shitting's blood essence was ferocious and powerful, but his control over his body was not as good as his inner energy. He could not prevent his heartbeat from being affected by the sound of the flute. His heartbeat involuntarily rose and fell along with the sound of the flute. In just a short while, he felt weak all over. Sun Shitting's eyes widened as he gritted his teeth. His previously handsome face had turned ferocious as he yelled, I was going to let you die a nice death, but you've brought this upon yourself. You're going to die a very, very ugly death. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes turned red, as if there were 2 balls of fire burning in his pupils. Then, his face quickly turned red, as if it was covered with a layer of red cloth. It looked eerie and terrifying. His body moved as fast as a ghost, and his fist missed. Bang! The bluestone floor under Yuru's feet cracked. Bang, 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 bang! Yuru kept retreating as the bluestone floor under her feet cracked under the force of his fists. He did not expect Sun Shitting's fist force to be so ferocious and overbearing. This fist force was different from pure inner energy. Although it was not as gentle, it was more powerful and destructive when it hit a person's body. Yuru tried her best to play the flute as she retreated. However, she was not fast enough. In the blink of an eye, Sun Shitting caught up with her and threw a punch at her. Yuru played the flute fiercely and the sound was ear-piercing. After Sun Shitting stopped moving, the red light in his eyes flickered a few times before he attacked Yuru again. Yuru could not dodge in time, but she could not just wait for her death. She could only condense a ball of energy in front of her palm and block the attack without touching his palm. Bang! Yuru was instantly sent flying and slammed into the wall like a rag doll. Then, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Without stopping, Sun Shitting charged toward Yuru again. After Yuru landed on the ground, she took out a string of silver bells and quickly shook them a few times. Sun Shitting's body stopped moving again, as if he was struggling. Then, he continued to charge toward Yuru and threw a punch that was even more powerful than before. Yuru had no choice but to roll away to avoid the attack. Now that the sound of the bells had been interrupted, they were no longer as powerful as before. Sun Shitting moved even faster and shot around like an arrow, forcing Yuru to dodge in panic. The bells in her hand were no longer effective, and she could not care less about shaking them. She could only focus on dodging. However, Sun Shitting's body movement technique was getting faster and faster. After a while, Yuru could no longer dodge and was sent flying again with a loud bang. Sun Shitting sneered, "Hand over your life." His right palm suddenly changed and became bright red, as if he had smeared his palm with the blood that had just spilled out of his body. Yuru looked hopeless. She knew that this was the bloody garment divine power's blood-devouring palm. If she touched his palm, her flesh would wither and she would turn into a dried corpse. She shuddered at the thought of how horrible and ugly she would look. Bang! With a muffled sound, Sun Shitting was sent flying and slammed into the wall next to him. His white robe fluttered as he landed in front of Yuru and asked, "Miss Yuru, are you okay?" Yuru's body went limp as she had just escaped death. She quickly shook her head. "Young Master Zhao, I'm okay. You have to be careful. Don't touch his palm or your blood essence will be sucked out." Chuli nodded. "Understood." Sun Shitting touched his throat and widened his eyes as he stood up from the corner of the wall and glared at Chuli. Chuli raised his eyebrows and smiled. He saw the wound on Sun Shitting's throat wriggling as if it had come to life. In the blink of an eye, the wound closed and quickly grew back. Chuli nodded and said, "This martial art is amazing." "Be careful," Yuru quickly said. "This is the bloody garment divine power. It can devour the opponent's blood essence, and the blood essence is much stronger than ordinary people. Moreover, the inner energy he uses is different from ordinary inner energy. It's more overbearing. Don't touch his palm and don't compete with inner energy." Chuli asked, "Can't he be killed? How can he heal after being stabbed?" "They may look strong, but their internal organs aren't," Yuru said. "Their internal organs are weaker than ordinary grandmasters, so they're afraid of the Tian Luo sect's martial arts. Unfortunately, I'm not skilled enough to restrain him." Chuli nodded. "That's good." Sun Shitting pounced at him like a ferocious tiger. Chuli waved his hand. Sun Shitting was sent flying again and slammed into the wall. Chapter 838. Bang! As soon as Chuli pressed his palm against it, he felt a strange force coming from the center of his palm. The blood in his body rumbled and flowed into his palm as if it had found an outlet. "Be careful!" Yuru screamed. Boom! Buddha and heavenly demon suddenly appeared in the void of his mind. Then, the great light scripture, Mahavairokkana's immobility scripture, and heavenly demon scripture roared at the same time. Lotus flowers fell on his body and his boiling blood calmed down. Chuli pushed his palm forward and a strange inner energy flowed into Sun Shitting's precordium. Sun Shitting's body was surrounded by a bloody glow that formed a strange armor that prevented Chuli's inner energy from entering his body. Chuli scoffed and clenched his fist. The fist force of the divine light fist gushed out and turned into a flame that flowed into the bloody glow. Then, it burned fiercely. The devouring of the bloody glow did not affect the flame at all. It burned through a part of Sun Shitting's body and hit his heart. Sun Shitting trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. He glared at Chuli. Chuli frowned as he looked at him. Then, he punched him in the chest again. This time, it was his lungs. Using the same method, Chuli's divine light fist force drilled into his lungs and damaged them. Then, he punched him 3 more times, shattering all of his organs. Although Sun Shitting spat out a mouthful of blood each time, he did not die. Chuli turned to look at Yuru. "How can I kill him? There's a blood core in his body. It's similar to his dantian. Destroying it will kill him," Yuru quickly said. Chuli nodded. He glanced at Sun Shitting's blood core and saw that it was 3 inches above his dantian. Then, he punched it and the fist force of the divine light fist went in again. This time, it encountered a strong resistance and could not go in. Therefore, he punched the blood core 3 times and the 3 fist forces merged and went in. Sun Shitting widened his eyes and stared at him in disbelief. Her red face quickly turned pale, and the red light in her eyes dissipated. She returned to her lifeless state as she stared at him. Chu Li nodded. This was indeed a vital point. Sun Shitting suddenly grinned. The brothers of the Church of the Bloody Garment will avenge me and fight you to the death. You're dead. Chu Li said, All right, I'm dead for sure, but you'll definitely die before me. Sun Shitting's legs suddenly gave way and he breathed his last. His body quickly shrunk and finally turned into a withered corpse. Chu Li shook his head. It's a little strange indeed. Yu Ru replied, The Church of the Bloody Garment is a cult. How many people are there in the Church of the Bloody Garment? Chu Li asked. Yu Ru frowned. According to Master, there might be more than 20 of them. 10 of them will come to Gale City to deal with the Phoenix Goddess Brothel. The Phoenix Goddess Brothel. Chu Li shook his head and said, If there are another 10 people like him, the Phoenix Goddess Brothel won't be able to stop them. They are bent on destroying the Phoenix Immortal Restaurant. Yu Ru said, Back then, the Phoenix Goddess Brothel was the one who went against them. In the end, they destroyed the Phoenix Goddess Brothel. The sect was enraged and sent out a few masters to destroy them. I didn't expect them to rise from the ashes again. Chu Li said, Even after the revival, they still want to deal with the Phoenix Goddess Brothel. What are they trying to do? Could it be that they want to take the same path as before? Master said that they should pick themselves up from wherever they fell. Moreover, their hatred for the Phoenix Goddess Brothel is deeply etched in their hearts, so they must destroy it no matter what, Yu Ru said with a frown. He's really stubborn. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. If you want to rise from the ashes, then you should just live a good life. Why do you have to go against the Tian Luo sect with such great fanfare? Isn't that the same as digging your own grave? Are they really that stupid? Their vigor and vigor far surpass that of ordinary people. Their actions are extreme and they live by the principle of Buddha strives for a pillar of incense and man strives for a breath, Yu Ru said. Therefore, they'll definitely continue to fight against the Tian Luo sect. Chu Li nodded. How about this? I'll go to the Phoenix Goddess Brothel to cultivate in isolation for a while. But, Yu Ru hesitated. She felt that it was inappropriate. The disciples of the Church of the Bloody Garment were crazy. If he provoked them, there would be no end of trouble for him. If he dragged the Radiance clan down with him, he would be in deep trouble. Chu Li smiled and said, I'll take action in secret. I'm sorry to trouble you, young Master Zhao, Yu Ru said hesitantly. It would be a good idea to attack in secret. He did not need to show himself. As long as he could save the lives of the disciples of the Phoenix Goddess Brothel at the critical moment, the disciples of the Phoenix Goddess Brothel alone would not be able to stop 10 disciples of the Church of the Bloody Garment. Chu Li said, You don't have to be so polite. You go back first, I'll be there tonight. Yu Ru nodded gently. Chu Li turned around and glided away. He had to repay the favor he owed the Phoenix Goddess Brothel sooner or later. This was the right time. As for whether the Church of the Bloody Garment would seek revenge on him, he was not afraid. If he dragged the Radiance clan down with him, then it would depend on how capable they were. If they were afraid of everything, they would not be able to enter the martial arts world. The night sky was hazy and a bright moon hung in the sky. The Phoenix Goddess Brothel was already brightly lit and the sound of musical instruments lingered in the air. It was a scene of luxury. Yu Ru, who was dressed in a light pink gown, walked gracefully to a room on the second floor. She opened the door and smiled. Young Master Lu, weren't you cultivating in isolation? I've come out of isolation. Lu Xiaofeng stood up and gave a fist salute. He flashed a handsome smile. I came to see you as soon as I came out of isolation, Miss Yu Ru. Yu Ru smiled. You came out so soon? I can come out as long as I've gained something. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. I'm lucky to have advanced again this time. It's all thanks to you, Miss Yu Ru. Yu Ru was startled. She smiled. Because of me? Lu Xiaofeng said. Because I've been anxious to see you, so I couldn't wait to come out of isolation. That's why I've been cultivating so hard. Thanks to this, I've been enlightened and advanced very quickly. I've advanced another level. Yuru pursed her lips and smiled. It's all thanks to me. Lu Xiaofeng invited her to take a seat. He looked at her and sensed that she was frowning. He forced a smile and asked, Miss Yuru, have you encountered any difficulties? Yuru shook her head. It's nothing. Tell me about it. Even if you can't help, you can still come up with a plan, right? Lu Xiaofeng said. Of course, it's better not to say anything if it involves the sex secrets. Yuru shook her head. It's not about the sex secrets. It's about the Church of the Bloody Garment. The Church of the Bloody Garment. Lu Xiaofeng's expression changed. Yuru asked, Young Master Lu, have you heard about it? Lu Xiaofeng nodded. I just came out of isolation and heard from Master that these people have appeared again and the Church of the Bloody Garment has been rebuilt. Yuru nodded. They've actually arrived at Gale City. So soon? Lu Xiaofeng frowned. Are they going to attack the Phoenix Goddess brothel? Yuru nodded with a solemn expression. Lu Xiaofeng sighed. This is troublesome. The martial arts of the Church of the Bloody Garment are mysterious and unpredictable. It's impossible to defend against them. Do you have a plan to deal with them? Yuru shook her head. Lu Xiaofeng said, Then we can only retreat for now and take a step back. Are you saying that we should close the Phoenix Goddess brothel and return to Tianluo sect? Yuru frowned. Lu Xiaofeng nodded. That's the only way. Otherwise, how can the Phoenix Goddess brothel defend against the Church of the Bloody Garment? My master is going to invite a master to help us fight against the Church of the Bloody Garment. Yuru stared at him. Oh. Lu Xiaofeng was stunned. He nodded slowly. That's a good idea. Yuru stared at him. Chapter 839. P.S. 6 chapters completed. Yuru sighed to herself, but she did not show it on her face. Instead, she smiled as if nothing had happened. It's all right. The Church of the Bloody Garment is too dangerous. It's better if you don't take the risk, young Master Lu. Lu Xiaofeng said, As the Blazing Sun Hall's Vice Hall Master, I can't act recklessly, lest I implicate the Blazing Sun Hall. Yuru gently nodded. Yes, the disciples of the Church of the Bloody Garment are crazy. It's best not to provoke them. Lu Xiaofeng quickly nodded and smiled. Miss Yuru is very understanding. If I were alone and had nothing to worry about, of course, I'd help you without hesitation. However, I'm the vice-clan leader of the Blazing Sun clan now, and I'm responsible for the fate of hundreds of people. I can't neglect my duty for personal reasons. Yuru said, That's true. If we provoke the Church of the Bloody Garment, many disciples of the Blazing Sun clan will be killed. We shouldn't have done this. She knew very well that Lu Xiaofeng's choice was indisputable and correct. However, for some reason, he still sighed indescribably. He was very disappointed and very melancholic. Perhaps it was because he was too calm. He didn't have the slightest urge to help, and he didn't show any signs of struggling or pestering. It seemed that he was not as important as the Blazing Sun Hall. As the Vice Hall Master, he placed the Blazing Sun Hall above him and chose the Blazing Sun Hall without any hesitation. Lu Xiaofeng replied, It doesn't matter whether I'm here or not. Miss Yuru, you don't have to worry. With Senior Bai Feng's capabilities, I'm sure she'll be able to invite many martial arts masters over. The Church of the Bloody Garment won't be able to harm them. Yuru forced a smile. I hope so. However, from tomorrow onward, the Phoenix Goddess brothel won't be receiving any guests for the time being. The disciples will need to focus on their cultivation and conserve their energy in order to deal with the Church of the Bloody Garment. As for the non-sect disciples, they'll have to leave temporarily so that they don't get involved. Not everyone in the Phoenix Goddess brothel was a disciple of the Tian Luo sect. Only a small portion of the leaders were disciples of the Tian Luo sect and were the managers. Most of the people in the Phoenix Goddess brothel were not disciples of the Tian Luo sect. They were ordinary people who did not even know martial arts. Letting one or even a few women who were proficient in martial arts perform in front of them and drink together would really make the guests feel insecure. Lu Xiaofeng said, "That's how it should be. Then we can't meet anymore." Yu smiled. "It shouldn't take too long." That's good. Lu Xiaofeng breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Those disciples of the Church of the Bloody Garment really deserve to die. Bang! A muffled sound came from downstairs. Yu frowned. Lu Xiaofeng hurriedly said, "Did something happen? Let's go take a look." Yu nodded and walked out of the house gracefully. When she arrived at the staircase, she saw a young man dressed in white striding up the stairs. He was tall and straight, but his appearance was mediocre. Behind him were two servants lying on the stairs. Obviously, they couldn't stop him from barging in. Yu frowned and asked, "Who are you?" "I'm Sun Shizuan, a disciple of the Church of the Bloody Garment." The young man in white gave a fist salute and said calmly, "I'm here to visit the Phoenix Goddess brothel." "How dare you?" Yu said, "This isn't a place where you can act presumptuously. I've been ordered to deliver a letter." Sun Shizuan cupped his fists and said calmly, "I've come to deliver a letter to the Tower Master of the Phoenix Goddess brothel." "I'm the young master," Yu said. "You can give me the letter. I have to present it to the Tower Master in person." Sun Shizuan shook his head. "I have to see the Tower Master in person." Yu said, "My master is away. I'm afraid you'll have to wait for some time if you want to present it to him in person." Sun Shizuan was secretly delighted, but his expression did not change as he said, "Then I'll wait here. I'll present it to the Tower Master when she returns." "This place doesn't welcome disciples of the Church of the Bloody Garment," Yu said. "Please leave." "When will the Tower Master return?" 3 to 5 days at the earliest and 7 to 8 days at the latest, Yu replied. "Fine, I'll come back in 2 days." Sun Shizuan gave a fist salute and left. "Do you think you can come and go as you please?" Yu asked. Sun Shizuan turned around and smirked. "Why, Miss Yu, do you want to exchange a few moves with me?" "The Bloody Garment divine power is mysterious and shocking," Yu said. "Since I'm here today, I'll have to experience it for myself." Then, she clapped her hands forcefully. Suddenly, the sound of a guzheng could be heard. Sun Shizuan's expression changed slightly. This was what he was most afraid of. He quickly listened attentively in an attempt to determine where the sound was coming from. However, he could not locate the source of the sound. It was as if the sound was constantly wandering and coming from all directions. The sound of the guzheng gradually became louder and louder. Sun Shizuan felt uncomfortable, as if ants were crawling all over his body. He knew that it was an illusion, but he could not help but want to scratch his body. Yu said, "This is just a small lesson for you to understand that the Phoenix Goddess brothel isn't a place where you can come and go as you please." As soon as she finished speaking, the sound of the guzheng suddenly became louder and louder like a drum. Sun Shizuan immediately pressed his hand against his chest. His heart almost jumped out of his chest, and he could not control his blood. The Tian Luo sect's most terrifying musical assassination technique was targeted at the heart and blood. Since blood was the source of their power, the Tian Luo sect was basically holding onto their vital point. They had no choice but to beat the Tian Luo sect until they were afraid. Once the Tian Luo sect was afraid and stopped disturbing them, they would not be afraid of the other sections. Yu scoffed. "Stop." The sound of the guzheng stopped abruptly. Sun Shizuan released his hand from his chest, and his expression turned gloomy. The Phoenix Goddess brothel and the Tian Luo sect really live up to their reputation. It's good that you know that. Let's go. Uru scoffed. Sun Sherzuan straightened his white robe and walked down the stairs, leaving the Phoenix Goddess brothel. Uru immediately returned to the third floor and entered Bai Feng's room. She gave a fist salute and bowed. Master, he's gone. He'll probably come to attack the Phoenix Goddess brothel in the next 2 days. Bai Feng sat cross-legged on the couch and said calmly, "This group of people has improved a lot. Now, they even know to send someone to scout out the situation." "This is basic common sense," Uru said. Bai Feng shook her head and said, "They're unscrupulous because of the bloody garment divine power. They won't do such things and will attack us directly. This time, their style has changed. The Church of the Bloody Garment has become more difficult to deal with. The bloody garment divine power was strange but powerful. Moreover, external injuries were not fatal. Only the musical assassination technique could restrain them. The Tian Luo sect could only kill them after finding their blood heart. The Tian Luo sect was the only sect that knew about these two methods. The Tian Luo sect had only discovered their weakness after the previous bloody battle. Many of their disciples had been sacrificed in exchange for this experience. Those who did not know about the bloody garment divine power could not kill them, so they were unscrupulous. It seemed that they were afraid of the Tian Luo sect and had some misgivings, so they had sent someone to scout ahead. After tonight, let the disciples of the Phoenix Goddess brothel get into position, Bai Feng said calmly. Prepare for battle. Yes. Uru nodded vigorously. Bai Feng said, "We don't know what our chances of winning are this time. If you have something to say, just say it." Yes. Uru nodded gently. She suddenly felt that she had nothing to say to young Master Lu. She could only tell him to take care and hope that she could survive this battle. Chapter 840. Bai Feng waved her hand and Uru retreated. She went to Chu Li's room thoughtfully and knocked on the door before entering. Chu Li was sitting cross-legged on the bed. He slowly opened his eyes and his gaze was deep. "Young Master Zhao." Uru approached him. Chu Li smiled. "Miss Uru, what's wrong?" "The people from the Church of the Bloody Garment will be here in 2 days," Uru said. Chu Li said, "It's a good thing that they're in such a hurry to reincarnate." Uru shook her head. "If we drag this on for a few more days, the sect's reinforcements will arrive. We won't have to be afraid of them." Chu Li said, "They must have predicted your arrival time, so they're in a hurry to fight. I'm not confident about winning this battle." Uru sighed. "Master is the only top-notch master in the brothel. The Church of the Bloody Garment will also have top-notch masters who will hold Master back. The rest of us won't be able to defeat them." Chu Li asked, "Why don't you play the guzheng in the formation?" Uru frowned. "The sound will be weakened by the formation." Chu Li smiled. "That depends on the formation." Uru's eyes lit up. "That's right. Young Master Zhao, you've learned formations too. Can you set up a formation?" Chu Li said, "I'll set up a soul confusion formation so that they won't be able to leave in a short time. Then, you can use the musical assassination technique to deal with them." "Can the soul confusion formation trap them?" "There's no harm in trying." "Sure." Uru quickly asked, "Do you need any materials to set up the formation?" Chu Li nodded. "It's best to use the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the forest. If it's in the Phoenix Goddess brothel, we'll need the best jade stones. It's hard to get them in a short time, so we'll have to lure them into the forest." Using the terrain of the mountains to set up a formation was because the mountains and trees had accumulated spiritual energy of heaven and earth over a long period of time. Setting up a formation would use this spiritual energy as a guide to draw out the strange energy of the void, which was the power of the formation. Jade stones were special as they absorbed spiritual energy of heaven and earth over a long period of time. Compared to the mountains and trees, they were much purer, and if they were used to set up a formation, they could use the spiritual energy of the jade stones to draw out the strange energy of the void, which would produce great power. However, these kinds of jade stones were priceless treasures. Even rich families could not get their hands on them. Jade stones. Yuru pondered for a moment before saying, "I do have some. Can I take a look at them?" After saying that, she retreated gracefully. She quickly went to her room and took out a box. Inside were some jade carvings and jade pendants. She didn't like gold and silver. What she liked was jade, so she collected quite a lot of it. Some of the rich and powerful people who came to the Immortal Phoenix restaurant, in order to obtain a smile from the beauties or even to redeem the freedom of the women they fancied, would have to please her, the young brothel master, and would give her some jade artifacts. She brought the box to Chu Li's house and handed it to him. "Master Zhao, are these enough?" Chu Li opened the box and looked around. In the end, he chose 2 jade horses, 2 jade kirans, a round jade pendant, and 3 jade lions. He looked at the 2 jade horses, shook his head and sighed. Yuru asked anxiously, "Is it impossible?" Chu Li withdrew his regretful gaze and smiled. "That's not it. It's just a pity that this person's carving skills are only average and wasted such a beautiful piece of jade. These should be enough. The Phoenix Goddess brothel sure is wealthy." Yuru smiled sheepishly. "They're just some mundane things." Chu Li shook his head. "These worldly items are of great use. I'll start setting up the formation now." "Okay." Yuru nodded. Chu Li glided out of the house and went downstairs to the first floor. He placed the 8 jade artifacts in 8 different positions. An ordinary formation master would need to use a ruler to measure the distance. It was very troublesome and exhausting to set up a formation. However, it was a piece of cake for him. His omniscient mirror could clearly show him the bird's eye view, and he could clearly see the distance. When he placed the last jade lion in front of a vermilion pillar, the jade lion suddenly flashed with brilliance. The other 7 jade artifacts also flashed with brilliance at the same time. Then, the brilliance merged into one and slowly floated up until it was level with their waist. The 8 jade artifacts slowly rotated and the 8 positions were occupied by 8 jade artifacts in turn. Then, the 8 jade artifacts suddenly disappeared. A strange force came from the sky and fell straight down onto the main hall. The white silk in the hall fluttered as if a strong wind had blown in. Yuru's clothes fluttered as she watched this scene in amazement. There were formation masters in Tian Luo sect too, but they were usually solitary people who immersed themselves in research all day long and paid no attention to the outside world. Everything was taken care of by the sect, so they did not need to be distracted. Yuru had never seen a formation master before and had never seen them setting up a formation. This was her first time seeing such a mysterious scene. Chu Li smiled. "Do you think it's mysterious?" Yuru exclaimed, "It's really mysterious." Chu Li shook his head. "Actually, the power of a formation is similar to a person's inner energy. It's formless and has a substance. There's nothing mysterious about it. Obtaining the power of a formation is like cultivating inner energy in a human body. It's like creating something out of nothing." Yuru smiled when she heard his explanation. "Now that you mention it, it's really normal." Chu Li replied, "There's nothing mysterious about it. Young Master Zhao, it seems like it's so easy for you to set up a formation. Why can't anyone learn it?" Yuru asked in confusion. She watched as Chu Li casually placed the 8 jade artifacts in 8 different positions, as if he had just placed them there casually. She could not understand why it seemed so easy to set up a formation, but almost everyone else was stumped by it. Chu Li smiled. "Those who are difficult won't be able to learn it, but those who know it won't be difficult either. The principles of a formation are complicated, but its appearance is actually very simple. Look at how I set up the 8 jade artifacts. It seems like it's easy, but I have to go through countless complicated deductions before I set up the formation and how to set it up. These 8 positions can't be wrong at all. Otherwise, it'll be difficult to set up the formation and your 8 fairy jade artifacts will be useless. Yuru nodded slowly. Chuli said, let's not talk about anything else. Let's talk about how to set up the formation first. You'll have to calculate the surrounding environment. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, how much metal is there and where it is located. Then, you'll have to deduce what formation to set up based on this. Of course, you'll have to have a deep understanding of these formations. There's only the principle of a formation. As for how to set up the formation, you'll have to design it based on the surrounding terrain and environment. Yuru stuck out her tongue. Forget it then. Her scalp went numb when she heard Chuli's words. She did not even dare to think about it. Chuli smiled and said, go in and try it out. How do I go in? Go out first. Once you step into the main hall, you'll enter the formation, Chuli said. Yuru pushed the door open and went out. Then, she turned around and came back. As soon as she entered the hall, the scenery in front of her instantly changed. There was a towering mountain in front of her. She stood at the foot of the mountain and felt as tiny as an ant. It was as if she could not climb up this mountain no matter how hard she tried. She could not help but want to climb up, so she quickly climbed up the mountain. She picked up her pace and soon, she was not far away from the peak of the mountain. However, no matter how fast she sped up, the distance between her and the peak did not change much. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.